Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Rinji thought for a moment and remembered who he was. Yeah, it's been a while, Officer Okoya. Standing before him was none other than Okoya Seishu, the former captain of the riot police unit who helped arrest Rinji 4 years ago. Okoya looked down at the shorter Rinji, his tone icy. It's great that you came here. Because now I can execute you personally. Chapter 164, finally becoming the man I always wanted to beat. Execute me, huh? Now that's interesting. Rinji could clearly sense the hostility coming off Okoya, but he wasn't angry. I remember you, Officer Okoya. 4 years ago, when I blew up the Shinomiya family's 43rd subsidiary, the 44th riot squad blocked my path. You had a helmet on back then, but I eventually found out what you looked like. Rinji smiled. The police said you're the most suitable man for the job. Humphrey. A man of justice like you would of course be upset that I was ultimately released. Rinji's grin grew, and there was a trace of mockery in his eyes as he looked at Okoya. Then why didn't you kill me back then? Were you afraid? Justice does not fear. Okoya stared at Rinji, holding back the urge to snap his neck right then and there. Back then, I followed orders and let you go. But this time, I won't. Is that so? And how do you plan to execute me? Don't forget, I'm not a fighter. You won't be able to touch me in the arena. I'll give you a chance, at least. Rinji lightly poked the man's chest with a finger. In the elimination match, we'll have a one-on-one duel. No talk of victory. Only of life or death. Fine. Okoya's gaze grew sharper. It's time to settle what happened 4 years ago. I look forward to the moment your righteous fantasy gets shattered. Rinji, look. That place over there looks fun. Just as he finished speaking, Karura tugged on his arm, pointing toward the water park on the other side. Yeah, let's go. As Karura pulled him along, the aura around Rinji disappeared in an instant, and he walked away with her, leaving Okoya behind. Watching the two leave, Okoya seemed lost in thought. But judging by his clenched fists, it was clear he was barely restraining the murderous intent boiling inside him. Rinji Takeman, I must erase you from this world. After one round of fun, night had fallen quickly. During that time, Rinji and Karura had tried nearly every attraction on the island. While Rinji wasn't particularly interested, spending time with Karura made it worthwhile. As for Karura, she had originally wanted to take the chance to make a baby with Rinji, but he managed to stop her just in time. At night, everyone returned from the beach and enjoyed a barbecue under the open sky. Most of the entrepreneurs ate gracefully, while some of the fighters devoured their food like starving wolves. And then there were the others. Ah. Karura picked up a slice of grilled meat with her chopsticks and brought it to Rinji's mouth. He took a big bite and showed a blissful expression. This public display of affection annoyed quite a few single fighters nearby. Among them was Kyoirio. His hands trembled as he watched the affectionate pair, and he crushed the metal fork and knife in his grip. That damn blonde brat. Grandpa, your blood pressure's rising again. Kyoichi calmly reminded him while eating. Back in the day, if Rinji saw a couple flaunting their love like that, he probably would have smacked them with a club. Unknowingly, he had become the very kind of person he used to want to beat up the most. Hi, Karura. Just as Karura was feeding Rinji, a female voice called out her name. They turned to see a blonde girl in a swimsuit. Oh, it's Elena. The girl named Elena was a Western beauty with a gentle, sweet face. She smiled and greeted Karura warmly. Rinji, let me introduce you. Karura put an arm around Elena's shoulders and pushed her in front of Rinji. This is my friend from the ship, Elena Robinson. Nice to meet you. Seeing she was Karura's friend, Rinji greeted her without hesitation. I'm Karura's boyfriend, Takeman Rinji. And nice to meet you, Mr. Rinji. Elena said a little shyly. Oh? Elena made a new friend? A foreign man wearing a traditional Japanese martial arts uniform walked up and patted Elena's head. Big brother. The man who walked over was also quite burly, especially with knuckles thicker than the average person's. He stepped in front of Renji and smiled. Nice to meet you, Mr. Renji Takaman. I saw your preliminary match. You're quite impressive. Thanks for the compliment. But... His gaze suddenly sharpened. When Elena and Karura weren't looking, his expression twisted in front of Renji. Lowering his voice, he said, if you dare mess with Elena, I don't care how strong you are. I'll kill you. Huh? Also avoiding Karura and Elena's notice, Renji sneered, looking at the man with disdain. Are you stupid? I already have Karura. You think I'd be interested in some run-of-the-mill chick? Fuck. How dare you call Elena run-of-the-mill? She's the most beautiful and adorable girl in the world. Want me to kill you right now? Screw you. Beautiful and adorable? You sure it's not just your family bias? Want me to beat you into tears right now? While Karura and Elena chatted and laughed nearby, Renji and Elena's brother glared at each other, one wrong word away from brawling on the spot. The man in front of Renji was named Makachi Robinson, another contestant in the tournament. He was powerful and usually dressed like a priest, earning him the nickname the Exterminating Vicar. Anyone who had made it to Ganru Island was no weakling. Silence. As the voice echoed out, the entire party fell silent. Including the happily chatting Karura and Elena, and the two who were about to throw punches. Everyone turned to see Katahiro Matsudo arriving with a group of men in black. Seeing that everyone was gathered, Katahiro nodded and said loudly, representatives of the 32 participating companies, please proceed to the main hall. Then he glanced toward Renji. Young friend Renji, you come too. Got it. Renji understood his intent. With a slight smile at the corner of his mouth, he followed them. He knew. The show was about to begin. Chapter 165, I just want to beat you up, Lie-Hito Rai-Hito, Raijin shakes slightly, scattering rain upon the clouds, may you stay? Raijin shakes not, those skies are clear, I stay with you. What the hell? Once separated from Karura, Renji remembered he still had summer homework. On the way to the hall, he pulled out the crumpled paper and started answering questions again. The translation is, a faint rumble of thunder, cloudy skies. I hope the storm will come, so you'll stay here. A faint rumble of thunder, cloudy skies. Even if no rain comes, I will still stay. A voice behind him explained. Oh, thanks. Wait, what the hell? He turned to thank the person helping him. Only to see a 188 centimeters tall, blonde musclehead standing there. It was Ichiro Nakata, codenamed Razor. Rai-Hito. In Renji's memory, this guy had the intelligence of someone who couldn't even pass middle school math. He always gave off the vibe of a fool. Yet here he was solving high school level questions? Why do you look so shocked? Rai-Hito asked in confusion. I just think I need to reassess your IQ. Don't underestimate me. Rai-Hito said indignantly. I graduated from To University, you know. How the hell did you even get in? Rai-Hito was a qualified contestant and also the president of SF Freezing Company since Katahira had summoned all 32 company heads, he was included. Renji, you're really not a fighter? Nope. Renji replied. The prelim match was just me playing around. I'm not participating in the main event. That's too bad. When I found out you were a guy, I really wanted to fight you. What do you mean when you found out? But hey, maybe we'll get the chance. As they spoke, they arrived at a pitch-black hall. The room was already filled with people. Familiar faces like Kazuo Yamashita, Shinsori Uin, and Rhino Koroshi. There were also presidents of major corporations. Every person here was a tycoon with assets in the hundreds of billions, some even in the trillions, except Yamashita. Each entrepreneur deliberately kept a distance from the others. Because after today, they would be rivals in the fight for the Kengan Association presidency. Yo, if it isn't Rai-Hito. A strange, effeminate voice called out. A makeup-wearing, feminine-looking man stepped out from the crowd and approached Rai-Hito. He was the CEO of Yashitake Real Estate and Rai-Hito's former employer. After Rai-Hito was defeated by Omatakata, he fired him. You, a loser, actually got in? Who are you working for now? What are you talking about? Rai-Hito scoffed. I'm my own boss. Huh? I'm both a business owner and a fighter. Rai-Hito grinned. You, seriously? Enough, stop arguing here. Renji cut off the skinny, effeminate middle-aged man. Save it for the arena. Yes, this young man is quite right. Unlike his sneering expression toward Rai-Hito, the man instantly put on a smile when facing Renji. Hello, Mr. Takaman. Here's my business card. Thanks. Renji accepted the card. It read, Yashitake Real Estate Chairman, Yashitake Yoshiro. Nice to meet you, Mr. Yashitake. Likewise, likewise. I've heard of your achievements, Mr. Takaman. starting Amano Pharmaceuticals at just 16 and becoming a member of the Kengan Association. Yoshitake Yoshiro raised his orchid fingers to his lips and smiled. But Amano Pharmaceuticals? I feel like I've heard that name before. 4 years ago, the company went bankrupt. Oh, now I remember. I heard the CEO committed suicide. What a tragedy. Are you trying to restart the company? Yes. What a good boy. Yoshitake dabbed his eyes with a handkerchief. Kids with such a sense of loyalty are rare these days. As they chatted, more people entered the hall. One of them being Hideki Nogi, the initiator of this elimination tournament. From the moment he walked in, Nogi exuded an intense aura, like he had staked everything on this. Which made sense. Since he was the one who proposed re-electing the association chairman. If he lost, the entire Nogi group would go down. Chairman Katahara also arrived, looking around at the gathered entrepreneurs. Is everyone here? Not yet. A powerful voice called from the entrance. An elderly man, thin and leaning on a cane, walked into the hall. The moment he entered, a suffocating pressure filled the room. Then everyone saw his face. The left half was completely burned. Scars so grotesque they could make a child cry. Hayami Katsumasa. The one from Toyo Electric. They say he's the closest person to becoming the Kengan Association chairman. That Tora really is something else. Everyone held high opinions about him, though quite a few also showed clear disdain. Yoshitake even took 2 steps back. His reputation in the circle was infamous. Someone who would stoop to anything to achieve his goals, a complete scumbag. Hayami Katsumasa, of course, didn't care what the others thought. He stood there arrogantly, looking down on everyone present. In his eyes, none of these people were qualified to contend for the position of Kengan Association chairman. Until Renji walked up to him. Long time no see, Hayami Katsumasa. Renji smiled. Can't believe that cluster bomb last time didn't finish you off. You sure ran fast. Hey, isn't this Mr. Takuman Renji? Though a little surprised to see Renji standing in front of him, Hayami remained confident. Kengan Association rules stated that members couldn't attack other members. He was sure Renji wouldn't kill him here and now. And even if he tried, Hayami had backup plans. Didn't expect you to become a member too. Starting a company and getting approved just like that. Seems like Katahara's vetting process is getting sloppy. Hearing that, Renji just smiled slightly. Then, under the stunned gazes of everyone present, he kicked Hayami squarely in the gut. Bam. Don't be fooled by how smug this old man looked. His strength lay entirely in the power behind him. Physically, he was just a frail old man. Before Hayami could react from being knocked to the floor, Renji snatched up his cane and began beating him with it. Acting all tough, huh? Say something cocky again, I dare you. After a few hits, Hayami's limbs were clearly broken. Chapter 166, New Rules Still Cocky, huh? Try being cocky again, I dare you. Now lying on the ground, Hayami was bloodied and bruised. His old bones were probably shattered. Everyone stared in shock at Renji. But no one tried to stop him. Because what shocked them more than Renji attacking was the fact that Katahara Matsudo and his guards weren't doing anything to stop him either. It was as if Renji's violent beating of Hayami was being silently permitted. Woo. After pummeling the man into an unrecognizable mess, Renji let out a breath. Katahara, standing behind him, chuckled and asked, "Feel good, young Renji?" So. The feedback was a little lacking. With a final kick that sent Hayami rolling aside, Renji stepped forward. The gathered business representatives instinctively stepped aside to make a path as he approached. Renji only stopped once he reached Katahara's side, then turned to face the crowd. There were 32 people below the venue, each representing one of the 32 participating companies. Now, we begin the position draw for the Kengan Life or Death Elimination Tournament. As Katahara spoke, he clapped his hands. Several black-suited guards rolled in a massive machine that resembled a slot machine. 9 rotating dials, each labeled 0 to 9. What's that? This machine will decide your draw order for the elimination tournament, said Katahara. Press the button once to start all the digits spinning. Then, each press of the button stops a digit. Starting from the 100 millions place, then 10 millions, all the way to the ones. Whoever scores the highest number gets to pick their bracket position first. Some of the participants initially suspected Katahara of rigging the machine. But when their phones displayed offline, ruling out remote control, and a few tech-savvy participants explained how it worked, their doubts ceased. Even so, Katahara still made a concession. He had his staff project the tournament bracket on a large screen. Positions 1 through 32 were displayed, with position 32 already assigned to Katahara's fighter. Kanaachido. I know what you're all thinking. Katahara grinned. None of you are idiots. It's not the bracket numbers that matter. It's who you might have to face. Specifically, The king of the fighters, Kana. None of you want to fight him, do you? Gulp. No one said it aloud, but that was exactly what everyone was thinking. Kana. His name thundered across the Kengan world. He was an undefeated legend, the unquestioned champion of the fighters. Most companies didn't believe their fighters could match him, even if those fighters insisted they were willing to try. Still, nobody wanted to take that risk. Especially not in the first round. I've already given you this much help. No complaints now. No one objected. They began using the machine. The numbers spun incredibly fast. Pressing the button was pure luck. One by one, participants took their turns. And the results came in. To everyone's surprise, the first place draw went to Yamashita Kazuo, a completely unremarkable middle-aged man. He scored a whopping 980 million points. Even Rinji had to reevaluate the seemingly average uncle. Second place went to the young, short-haired woman Hamashunka, president of Wakaza Life Insurance. She had been glancing at Rinji from time to time. Something he understood clearly. Her company's fighter was a Koyoshi issue. The same guy who had openly declared his intent to execute Rinji. The rest were fairly average. In dead last was Ryoto. He managed to score only 3 digits, somehow pressing all the upper digits to 0. That took talent in its own right. Of course, he wasn't technically the last. Hayami Katsumasa was still unconscious and couldn't participate. He got whatever slot was left, which luckily wasn't Kana Ajito's. Apparently, Ajito had already been selected by a company called Muji TV, who clearly had great faith in their fighter. The drawing is over. Now I'm announcing an extra rule. Just as the business leaders were sighing in relief, Katahira's voice startled them again. What now? Another rule? As all eyes turned his way, Katahira nodded in satisfaction and clapped Renji on the shoulder. This is Rinji Takaman, president of the 33rd participating company, Amano Pharmaceuticals. Katahira smiled. I'm sure you've all seen his prelim footage, so I won't waste time explaining. He paused. Then his voice boomed through the hall. Whether you plan to ally with others or fight solo, as long as you make it to the top 16, you may challenge Rinji Takaman. An uproar exploded in the hall. You mean? Challenge? Challenge a kid? With our fighters? Is that even allowed? Katahira understood their confusion and answered with a calm smile. You don't need to worry about the rules. Rinji-kun operates outside the Kengan Association's usual framework. And as current chairman, I am adding this rule. Naturally, to challenge him, there are 2 conditions. He raised 2 fingers. First, only those who make it through the first round into the top 16 may challenge. Second, before the challenge, you must negotiate with Rinji-kun regarding what your company is willing to offer. I have a question. Sori Uenshin raised her hand. Go ahead. When you said ally, does that mean companies can join forces and send multiple fighters to challenge him? Yes. Is there a limit on the number of fighters? No. In other words, if they wanted to, they could gang up and send all 16 top fighters at once to challenge Rinji. But realistically, that was unlikely. Businesses didn't get along that well, and full cooperation was near impossible. One more question. Shun took a cigarette from her pocket and lit it, trying to steady her nerves. You added this rule specifically. If someone defeats him, is there a reward? Of course. Katahira burst into laughter, his sharp gaze practically piercing the crowd. If any of you manage to defeat him, the tournament ends immediately. And the winner gains the right to appoint the next Kengan Association chairman. Chapter 167, Do I Still Fear Defeat Him? And become the Kengan Association chairman right away? Except for the few who knew Rinji's true capabilities, the rest of the business leaders looked at him in disbelief. He looked so small and thin. Probably not even 18. And yet, beating him would grant them the right to appoint the next chairman? And joint challenges were allowed? Was Katahira seriously that eager to give up his position? That's right. Katahira kept his eerie grin as he looked at the confused crowd. If you defeat Rinji-kun, the victor gets the right to choose the next chairman. If a group of fighters beats him and more than one is still standing, then they fight each other for the right. Though frankly, I doubt that scenario will happen. As his words settled, the business leaders began calculating. It sounded like a simple rule. But in their eyes, it was filled with room for maneuvering and traps. First, Katahira's boldness meant Rinji must be far more powerful than he appeared. Even though they had seen him fight in the prelims, his performance hadn't seemed overwhelming. But if Katahira was making such a declaration, it meant Rinji's strength might even surpass Kana Ajito. This led to a critical question: how should they challenge him? Logically, alliances would offer the best chance. But if one side held back and let the other exhaust Rinji, then swooped in to finish the job, the first side would be screwed. Moreover, since challenges were allowed after the first round, Losing meant their fighter could be too injured to continue, costing them a spot in the quarterfinals or semifinals. How strong was Renji really? Should they challenge him? Should they ally? With whom? These were the decisions now confronting them under the new rule. One misstep, and the chance at the Kengan Association chairmanship would be lost forever. By the way, seeing their faces grow increasingly grim, Katahira added with a smile, if Renji-kun isn't competing, he'll be commentating for the tournament. If you're interested in challenging him, go to him directly. No need to go through me. As I said, his existence is beyond the Kengan rules. The opportunity was now on the table. But only companies who made it to the top 16 could take it. Hey, Jizenga. What do you think about all this? A black-haired woman with serrated teeth looked toward Mutaba Jizenga, who was reclining on a beach chair, enjoying a massage from a bikini-clad beauty behind him. Her name was Togo Tamari, the boss of Iwami Heavy Industries. Because her company frequently dealt in arms and military goods, she was known in the industry as the Merchant of Death. What are you referring to? That guy named Renji Takaman. Do you think you can take him on? Togo Tamari asked as she looked at the relaxed Jizenga. If you win, you'd be the champion immediately. You sent me to compete, right? Of course I did. Then you shouldn't be sending me to my death. Mutaba chuckled. Huh? That Takaman was my superior 2 years ago. We were both part of the African Coastal Defense Forces. Back then, I was still a direct mercenary. You were with you? Togo Tamari was genuinely shocked. Anyone in the arms business knew what the name "Mu" meant. You could only do business under his permission. Iwami Heavy Industries sold many weapons, but only because he allowed it. In essence, they let her eat at the table. Yeah. And back then, Lieutenant Takaman was terrifying. Even 100 of me wouldn't stand a chance against him. Mutaba smirked. Even if all 32 companies and Kana Ajido teamed up, they wouldn't last 5 minutes against him. That's strong? Absolutely. Which is why the best move for us is not to challenge him. Mutaba took off his sunglasses, revealing his blank, pupil-less eyes. Let those frogs at the bottom of the well think they can beat him. After they all get crippled or killed, there will be fewer opponents in the main tournament. If I'm the only one left from the top 16 who doesn't challenge him, we'll basically have the championship locked. That actually makes sense. After learning about Renji, Togo Tamari had a mischievous thought. She wasn't thinking about forming alliances to challenge Renji, but rather how to trick those clueless companies into attacking him, thereby reducing competition in the main tournament. Mr. Oma, I really don't think this is a good idea. What's wrong with it? Because on the beach at night, Takata Oma was warming up while Yamashita Kazuo stood beside him, visibly conflicted. Takaman is way too strong. Besides, precisely because he is that strong, I have to challenge him. After finishing his stretches, Oma began throwing punches into the air, the speed of his fists cutting through with sharp whoosh sounds. You say that, but I really don't know what to do. Yamashita lowered his head. I got tricked into this. Our company has nothing. Plus we're 5.1 billion yen in debt. If I want to challenge Takaman, I need to offer him something valuable. But what do I have to offer? Borrow money from Nogi. Are you a demon? Meanwhile, in a training room, Garura stood excitedly on the observation deck in her swimsuit, watching Renji warming up on the ring below. Standing across from Renji was none other than Kana Ajido, now fully suited up in a tight combat outfit. Mr. Takaman, sorry to bother you so late for training. It's fine. Just a good chance to stretch my body. Renji smiled. You want to see if, after 4 years of training, you can finally beat me? I do want to beat you, but not today. Kana took a stance and opened some distance, preparing to engage. I just want to see if I still feel fear when facing you again. Chapter 168. Please be mindful of where you want to have kids. This is just training. To make sure you can still compete tomorrow, I won't hold back, but I will restrain my strength. Facing the already ready Kana Ajido, Renji held out his hand, his fingertips aimed at him. I'll limit my output to about 5%. If you can handle it, I'll gradually increase it. Much appreciated. With both men ready, the training began. Renji, do your best. Garura cheered loudly from the sidelines. She knew who Kana Ajido was. The fifth Fang of Matsudo. The undefeated champion of Kengan matches. Even her grandfather spoke highly of him. Now, this king was about to duel with Renji. She was beyond thrilled. Renji smiled and waved at her, then turned back toward Kana. In that instant, his expression turned sharp. Begin. Whoosh. As soon as Renji gave the signal, Kana vanished from view. In the next second, he was right in front of Renji, thrusting a straight punch at his forehead. As the punch closed in, Renji didn't dodge. Instead, he raised his right hand, parried the punch at the wrist, then stepped in and slammed his elbow into Kana's left ribs. Ugh! Despite the pain, Kana didn't pause. He lifted his leg for a low sweeping kick aimed at Rinji's shin. Clack! But before it connected, Rinji raised his leg and blocked it with his knee. Kana reacted quickly and tried to retreat, but in a flash, a shadow came flying at his head. Thud! A dull thump echoed as Kana's vision warped. He'd been struck on the side of the head. Rinji didn't stop. With a blank expression, he whipped his arm like a lash and slammed it down at Kana. Kana, now recovered, raised his arm to block the attack. Bam! A drop of cold sweat formed on Kano's face. It was only supposed to be 5% power. But the impact made his entire arm go numb. And the attack wasn't over yet. After making contact, Rinji's arm slid down toward the ground, and in the same moment, using the momentum and a twist of his hips, he swung his arm upward and slammed it into Kana's face. Wham! The strike landed right on Kana's nose, sending his massive body staggering back a few steps. You okay? I'm fine. Kana answered while covering his nose, hiding his expression. Alright, I'll continue then. With that, Rinji pushed off the floor and rushed at Kana, swinging his arm at Kana's head. Just then, Kana lowered his hand. His blood-covered face broke into a twisted, inhuman smile. Even as Rinji's arm came down like a blade, when it landed, Kana's body absorbed the blow like cotton. Most of the force was dispersed. Rinji quickly closed in and threw a snake-like jab at his shoulder. But that too was neutralized. I see. Systema, huh? Rinji remarked, recognizing the old Soviet military martial art. Though your current state looks a little off. It's nothing. An old condition. Kana kept the creepy grin on his face. Thanks to you, I've evolved right before the tournament. You fighters are obsessed with getting stronger. Is that really so fun? Rinji sighed, then launched himself forward. His arm twisted midair, striking at Kana's neck from a diagonal angle. By now, Kana had deciphered Rinji's patterns, 3 core moves. Strike, hook, sweep. The strikes weren't from the hand but the arm bone, delivered with relaxed shoulders to extend reach unpredictably, like being hit with a meteor hammer. This was the Pigakuin. The martial art Rinji was using. Having seen through the moves, Kana dodged several and closed in quickly. He was faster than before. Though Rinji's attacks were strong, they had wide arcs. Once up close, they were harder to execute. That was Kana's plan. But it didn't help. He successfully got into close range, but just as he threw an uppercut at Rinji's chin, a sudden sharp pain hit his chest. At close range, Rinji had already switched styles. No longer using Piga's long-range strikes, he twisted his waist and drove his elbow sharply into Kana's chest. Ugh! Kano stumbled back 2 steps. And in that instant, the match was decided. 2 lightning-fast chops landed on either side of Kano's neck, knocking him to the ground. That's enough, Kana. Rinji rotated his neck and walked up to the kneeling fighter. You're already impressive. Among normal humans, you're really strong. Still not enough. Kana stood up, trembling, steadying himself. The creepy grin was gone. His face returned to its usual seriousness. I must grow stronger. To protect Lord Katahara. Getting stronger, huh? Rinji looked down, his golden hair falling over his eyes. All of you thinking about how to get stronger. What a fun life that must be. What? For some reason, Kana detected a hint of helplessness in Rinji's words. Rinji. Suddenly, a shadow slammed into Rinji's back. Garura clung to him like a koala, her adorable little face nuzzling his hair. I knew it. You're the strongest. Yes, come down first. Only when Garura hugged him did Rinji finally look up, a smile spreading across his face. Let's have a baby right now. Garura's cheeks flushed red. As she spoke, she began trying to undo the clasp of her swimsuit. She liked strong men. She liked Hakim and Rinji. When she saw Rinji overwhelming Kana in battle, her admiration nearly exploded. Her eyes practically sparkled with hearts. Wait. Not right now. Chapter 169, Scumbag Behavior? At some point, Rinji began to feel that life had become incredibly boring. He no longer knew what his goals were or what kind of life he should be pursuing. While people around him struggled to earn money, he realized that his family had enough wealth to last several lifetimes. While others fought bitterly for power and status, he found that everyone around him followed his words. Even those with prestige and influence bowed their heads to him. And while some people trained tirelessly to grow stronger, Rinji's power continued to increase rapidly. Even when he just lazed around. While others dreamed of surpassing human limits, Rinji had been trying since the age of 7 to suppress his constantly growing power so he could seem more human. At an age when others were striving for a future, Rinji no longer knew what was worth striving for. The only thing that gave him a reason to keep going was the idea of defeating his seemingly goofy old man. So young, yet already blessed by life. Everything came too easily. The world felt like it revolved around him. Rinji felt both lucky and unfortunate. Lucky because he got whatever he wanted. Unfortunate because there was nothing worth working for. Sometimes, he really thought he was a lost cause. That was, until he came to Japan at age 12. Starting a business with Uncle Amano introduced him to the ways of the world, to the trust between people. After Uncle Amano's suicide, Rinji finally realized that the world didn't revolve around him. When he met Ai Asaka, he learned what love felt like. When she rejected his confession, he understood heartbreak. He realized that not everything could be obtained so easily. At least, not love. I remained a special presence to Rinji, even after turning him down. He hadn't changed much. Still a reckless bastard. But if he hadn't met Ai back then, he might never have learned what it meant to cherish something. Rinji woke up in his room, rubbing his messy hair. Today was the second day of the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. He would be one of the 16 seeded fighters and a special guest commentator. He picked up the phone on the nightstand and checked the time. 6:30 a.m. Still some time until the event started. Come to think of it, I dreamed about Ai last night. It was that moment she rejected me. Just how afraid am I of rejection? As he was about to get up, he realized something was holding his left hand. Feeling something was off, he lifted the blanket and saw Karura snuggled up to his arm, fast asleep, wearing only thin underwear. When did you get here? Rinji was shocked. He distinctly remembered that after training with Kane last night, he turned down Karura's offer to have a baby, returned to his room alone, shut the door, and fell asleep. Oh right. I forgot to lock the door. Karura probably found out where he was staying and snuck in during the night. Looking at the peacefully sleeping Karura, Rinji smiled gently and stroked her silky black hair with his right hand. I don't need to fear rejection anymore. I have a girlfriend now. And she's perfect? Absolutely. Wait. A sudden thought made Rinji's expression twist in horror. I have a girlfriend. So why did I dream of another girl? That doesn't make sense. Does this mean I'm a scumbag? His first time in love, and he was already overwhelmed. In truth, he didn't just dream of Ai. He also dreamed of Uncle Amano and many of the people he'd met at age 12 before attempting suicide. But none of that mattered to him right now. His brain was in chaos. Right. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm a scumbag. I haven't cheated or anything. A dream doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. He kept trying to hypnotize himself with self-talk, but Rinji still couldn't shake the guilt. Okay, calm down. I need to ask someone about this. He quickly grabbed his phone and started going through his contacts. Chiragane Miyuki, pass. He's never dated. Ishigami Yu. Pass. Video games never cover stuff like this. Shinomiya Kaguya. Pass. Better off asking a pig. Eventually, after eliminating several names, his eyes settled on Fujiwara Chika. Though she hadn't dated either, at least her advice sounded somewhat logical. He couldn't afford to be picky. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Ring. Hello? Hello. Fujiwara-san, sorry for calling so early. Sleep is important for girls. The voice on the other end was still groggy. Fortunately, Fujiwara Chika wasn't grumpy when waking up. Otherwise Rinji would have been scolded into oblivion. I need your help. Rinji quickly explained. Sorry to call you at this hour. I'll buy you snacks for the whole next semester. Huh? The moment she heard free snacks, Fujiwara perked up, smiling. Takuman-kun, you're so generous. What do you need help with? Love-related stuff. Then you've found the right person. I'm Fujiwara Chika, the so-called love detective. What's the issue? My friend has a problem. Rinji said. Let's say he has a girlfriend, but he dreamed about another girl. Does that count as scumbag behavior? If it's just a dream, that's a bit tricky. Fujiwara hesitated. Did they have a fight? No, they're in the honeymoon phase. Rinji glanced at Karura, who was still sound asleep beside him. They're even sleeping in the same bed. I see. Fujiwara suddenly shouted, that's same bed, different dreams. Classic scumbag behavior. She didn't think much before blurting it out, but to Rinji it felt like getting struck by lightning. Hello? Takuman-kun? Why aren't you saying anything? I want to die. Chapter 170, Special Guest. Karura opened her eyes and sat up, stretching with a yawn. She turned and saw Rinji staring blankly, mumbling to himself, radiating waves of sorrow. Good morning, Rinji. Karura said with a smile. Ah. Good morning. Rinji stiffly turned his head, looking at Karura, who was still only wearing underwear. Karura. I think I did something terrible to you. I dreamed. Of another girl last night. So? Karura blinked at Rinji, not understanding why this mattered. He looked like he was about to confess something life-shattering, but to her it was nothing but a trivial matter. So? That's a big deal. Rinji exclaimed. It means I cheated in my heart. Though Rinji sounded dead serious, Karura couldn't make heads or tails of what he was talking about. So what if you dreamed about a girl? Why are you freaking out? Huh? You're not bothered? Why would I be? Hearing her say that, Rinji turned away and covered his mouth, nearly moved to tears. She's amazing. How can a girl be this perfect? Let's not worry about that now. Karura suddenly grinned and yanked Rinji down onto the bed. She pinned his hands and straddled him. Her stunning figure was now completely on display before him. Wait, Karura. You want me to have your baby, don't you? I searched for so long last night just to find your room. Hold on, doing it now is a little buzz. Just then, Rinji's phone rang. It looked like a call from a Kengan Association staff member. Wait a second, let me take this. Muttering saved. Rinji broke free from Karura's grip, grabbed his phone, and answered. Hello? Hello? Is this Mr. Takuman? It's almost time. Please come to the lounge now to discuss the first round of the 32-16 preliminaries. Got it, I'm on my way. He hung up, got out of bed, and grabbed his clothes to change. He also picked up Karura's clothes from the couch and handed them to her. Looks like it's almost time, let's go. Okay. The entire Kengan Annihilation tournament was held in a domed arena on Ganru Island. The architecture resembled an open-air Roman Colosseum, and the spectator stands were already packed. In the noisy crowd were people from various countries. Entrepreneurs, investors, and even high-ranking political figures. This tournament would determine the next chairman of the Kengan Association. It was a massive upheaval in the Japanese business world. And once there was a shift in Japan's corporate structure, other countries would also have to adjust their strategies, which explained the presence of top-tier global figures. As an underground event, the Kengan matches were considered the highest caliber. Grandpa. Oh, Karura, you're here. Originally seated high above the arena with a solemn expression, Kyorio's face instantly softened into a warm smile when he saw Karura approaching in her black school uniform. Where did you go last night? Grandpa was very worried. Last night? Karura smiled. I stayed in Rinji's room. Apparently unaware of Kyorio's expression, which could rival Munch's the scream. She continued smiling. It took me a while to find his room, but I eventually did. We slept in the same bed. Irio clutched his chest and squatted to the ground. But we still didn't manage to make a baby. Such a pity. Huh? Grandpa, what's wrong? Are you sick? Karura crouched down and held his shoulder with concern. Hold on, Grandpa. I'll take you to the infirmary. No need, no need. Grandpa's body is fine. Irio kept smiling in front of Karura to reassure her, but in his heart he was screaming, you damned blonde brat. My adorable great-granddaughter's been stolen away by you. Well then, I'm off to find Rinji. Bye, Grandpa. As soon as Karura left, Irio couldn't take it anymore and collapsed to the ground. Nearby, Reiichi stared at his grandfather wordlessly and whispered, Grandpa, are you sure you don't need the infirmary? Elsewhere, Rinji was also preparing for his role. Hello, you must be Takuman Rinji, the one father spoke about. In front of Rinji stood a seductive woman with tan skin. She wore a highly revealing outfit, had long flowing silver hair, and an explosive figure. Her name was Katahara Sayaka, daughter of Katahara Matsudo. Of course, she wasn't the daughter of the legal wife, but of a mistress. After all, how could a 90-year-old man have such a young daughter? Rinji figured her father and his own grandfather would probably get along great. Sayaka was the host and commentator for this Kengan Annihilation tournament, and as a special guest, Rinji was also expected to co-commentate. In other words, he'd be working alongside Sayaka for the rest of the event. That's right. You must be Katahara Sayaka. Let's work well together. Likewise. Let's give it our best. Sayaka shook Rinji's hand with a bright smile. She was the type of woman who easily made a good impression. Many Kengan members were rumored to be her fans. I'll be handling the hype and calling the matches. Once the fighters begin, I'll start commentary. Sayaka smiled. As the guest commentator, all you need to do is share your thoughts about the fighters from your seat. Got it. When Rinji said got it, it usually meant he misunderstood something. Though Sayaka wasn't aware of that. Let me hand you the profiles of the fighters. You should skim through them before the matches begin. Sure. Rinji nodded and pulled out a stack of papers from his bag, setting them on the table. Huh? Mr. Takuman, you already prepared the materials? No, these are school assignments. Chapter 171, Please do not write homework on commentary duty. Fireworks exploded above the dome. The entire venue was a sea of people. For an underground fighting tournament, it was more extravagant than most international events. Thank you all for waiting. Sayaka rose from the center of the dome, holding a microphone. She took a deep breath, raised her hand, and shouted, "The Kengan Annihilation Tournament begins now." Oh. Finally. Start already. The entire crowd erupted. The atmosphere exploded with excitement. The tournament will run for 6 days. Today is the preliminaries. 16 matches will determine the top 16 fighters. Sayaka announced. There's also a new rule this year. The 16 finalists have 2 choices. 1. Proceed to the round of 16. Or. She pointed to Rinji, who was at the commentary table, doing his homework. Challenge Takam and Rinji here. The winner will be declared the overall tournament champion. As expected, the entire stadium went into an uproar. Wait, win the whole thing just by beating that kid? What's going on with this year's Kengan tournament? What is Chairman Katahara thinking? And what's that kid doing? Is he seriously doing homework? There were hundreds of thousands of spectators. When Sayaka pointed to Rinji, the cameras zoomed in, and every movement of his was displayed on the giant screen. That meant the entire audience. Politicians, CEOs, global tycoons, could see Rinji doing his homework. They could even read the questions on his worksheets. Sayaka broke into a light sweat. Despite her experience hosting many events, this was definitely a first. Still, she was used to handling anything. She quickly continued, I, Katahara Sayaka, will be your host for today. Please take care of me. Oh. Sayaka, I love you. Have my baby, Sayaka. Sayaka clearly had a huge fan base. Alright, that's it for the opening remarks. Now, let's get to what you've all been waiting for. She turned toward the entrance tunnel and shouted, the first match begins now. The Kengan Death Elimination Tournament, Preliminaries Match 1. Began. Sayaka returned to the commentary desk, placed her hand over her mic, and whispered to Rinji, Mr. Takaman, hundreds of thousands of people are watching. Could you please stop doing homework? If I don't finish, I'm doomed. Rinji kept scribbling furiously without even looking up. Don't worry, I'll still do my job. Well, alright then. Since he said so, Sayaka decided not to press further. She brought the mic to her lips and smiled. Mr. Takaman recently became a Kengan member. He's immensely powerful and is joining us as a guest commentator. What are your thoughts on today's event? She held the mic toward Rinji. The mic was connected to the venue's loudspeakers, meaning the entire audience could hear even the scribble of his pen. I think the venue's great. Rinji said while writing. You can tell a lot of effort went into this. The floor isn't slippery, and the space is wide. Is that important? Of course. Otherwise, losers will just blame the floor or say it was too cramped. Lame excuses. Haha, thank you for your input. Sayaka wisely avoided digging into that any further and shifted topics. She pointed to the fighter's entrance. Let's welcome our first competitor. Boom. Sparks exploded at the entrance. A young fighter appeared under the lights, visible to the entire crowd. It was none other than Imai Cosmo, who had previously met Rinji. He waved graciously at the roaring audience. Though small in stature, he's tremendously strong. Known for his jiu-jitsu, can he bring flair to today's matches? Sayaka lifted the mic and called out, height, 171 centimeters. Weight, 68 kilograms. Kengan record, 21 wins, 0 losses. Earned 79.2 billion yen for his company. Representing Nishionji Security Services. King of Strangles, Imai Cosmo. The crowd erupted in cheers. Clearly, Imai Cosmo was a popular and respected fighter. He is amazing. Rumor says he started Kengan matches at only 14. Sayaka moved the mic to Rinji again. Mr. Takaman, as a fellow young powerhouse, what's your impression of him? He's good. Can you elaborate? He's shorter than me. Sayaka was speechless. She felt this might be the most exhausting event she'd ever hosted. Normally, even the most mischievous guests would mind their manners under such scrutiny, but Rinji clearly didn't care. He always spoke the same way, no matter the setting. Next up, we have the brawling king of Texas. As soon as Sayaka said this, sparks shot from the opposite tunnel. Out walked a hulking white man over 190 centimeters tall, with a rebellious look, a skull tattoo on his shoulder, terrifying muscles, and the letters FUCK engraved in his upper teeth. He clearly wasn't someone to mess with. Height, 192 centimeters. Weight, 107 kilograms. Kengan record, 1 win, 0 losses. Earned 7.6 billion yen. Known as the Emperor. Adam Dudley. The crowd roared again. An explosive debut versus a battle-tested prodigy. Who will win? This match promises to be intense. Mr. Takuman, your thoughts on? Do you know what comes after Kasuga in a fog? Rinji interrupted, looking up and asking a completely unrelated question. Mr. Guest Commentator, please stop doing your homework and focus on the event. Mass release cause, why not? Chapter 172, Guest, please do not assault contestants who will emerge victorious. The Japanese Jiu-Jitsu warrior or the American street fighter? As always, Sayaka kept the crowd pumped with her hosting. In the arena, the two imposing fighters stared each other down. The referee raised his hand and shouted, "All right. Face off and take your stances." Imai Cosmo slowly crouched into position, while Adam Dudley assumed a boxing stance. Two completely different martial arts styles from East and West. Who will prevail? Let's watch and see. Sayaka continued heating up the atmosphere wisely, not bothering to ask Rinji's opinion and letting him quietly do his homework. With the start of the match, the fighters began to stir. Adam looked down at the low posture of Cosmo and smirked disdainfully. Pathetic. Japan's sending women into the ring now? Cosmo's looks were more on the cute side, and Adam used it as ammunition for his trash talk. He had nothing but contempt for these so-called frail types. Despite only having fought in one Kengan match, Adam was no pushover. He once knocked out Texas's top street fighter with a single punch, earning him the title of the Emperor. He had earned his arrogance. You sure talk a lot of crap. Better watch your mouth before you lose your chance to speak. Cosmo sneered. So this is the level of Kengan? Sending a woman who knows grappling and a girly-looking guest. Adam continued mocking. As soon as he said that, Rinji abruptly put down his pen on the commentary desk. Sayaka's heart sank. This wasn't going to end well. And after I deal with you and get into the top 16. Adam taunted, I'll go handle that other woman too. With a face like that, he should be a male escort, not here to fight. At that, Rinji grabbed the mic from Sayaka and, using a voice that echoed through the whole stadium, shouted, You little punk, are you fucking asking to die? Huh? The entire stadium instantly descended into chaos. Adam raised his head to see Rinji walking straight toward him. Sayaka covered her face, exasperated. This was going to blow up. In the executive box seats, many spectators wore puzzled expressions. Meanwhile, watching from above, Katahiro Matsudo burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Little Rinji is finally angry. Young people really can't hold back, huh? Why the hell did you invite that little brat in the first place? Kyoirio muttered. Ever since the Karura incident, he'd been pissed at Rinji. Isn't this more entertaining? And you're not worried it'll get out of hand? There's nothing to worry about. I'm not concerned at all. Katahiro laughed. Elsewhere, all eyes were on Rinji as he approached the ring. A conflict between a guest and a contestant wasn't unheard of, but this wasn't looking like a minor scuffle. Standing before Adam, Rinji looked up at the massive foreigner. Don't you know what not to say? Are you really asking me to kill you right here? Oh? You? Adam sneered. Cosmo at least looked decently built, but Rinji just looked small and weak. Adam snatched the mic from him and laughed loudly. You really think someone like you deserves to be challenged by us? What are you gonna do, bat your eyelashes at us? Wham! One punch. Straight to the chest. Adam's huge body flew back 10 meters and crashed to the ground, eyes rolling back, blood dribbling from his mouth. Silence fell over the arena. What the hell just happened? Did the guest really just knock a contestant out? Even Cosmo looked stunned. He was supposed to face that trash-talking American in a proper one-on-one battle, but the guy got code before they even started. The referee quickly rushed over and felt for a pulse. His heart stopped. This was a first for Kengan matches, a contestant nearly killed by a guest before the match even started. Relax, he's just in a near-death state. Rinji said casually, pushing the referee aside and picking up the mic from Adam's limp hand. He looked around at the silent stadium, tapped the mic, and made a declaration for all to hear. This is a warning. And I'm adding a new rule. Standing in the center of the arena, he issued a clear ultimatum. I, Rinji, am a real man. Anyone, fighter, entrepreneur, even heads of state, who mocks my appearance. He swept his gaze across the tens of thousands in the stands. I'll rip your guts out, tie them into a bow, and shove them back up your ass. Not caring about their reactions, Rinji simply walked back to the commentary table and sat down beside Sayaka, who was sweating buckets. Meanwhile, medics rushed onto the scene to carry Adam, now in critical condition, to the infirmary. Ganru Island had top-notch medical facilities, and they would do everything possible to save Adam. If he recovered by the end of the day, he'd get a rematch with Cosmo. If not, Cosmo would move directly into the top 16. Still stunned, Cosmo stepped down from the ring. And so, The first match of the Kengan Annihilation Tournament ended in farcical fashion. But more importantly, everyone, especially the contestants, now understood Rinji's true power. When Katahiro Matsudo said beating Rinji would make you chairman, it wasn't a joke. With the first match effectively voided, it was time for the second round. Rinji remained at the commentary table, still in his role as guest commentator. Chapter 173, Guest, please don't slack off due to unforeseen circumstances. The first match ended prematurely. Adam Dudley was hospitalized after offending the guest. As a fighter for Boss Burger, his exit dealt a major blow to the company. Boss Burger's CEO lodged a complaint with the Kengan Association, but it was fruitless. Adam had indeed provoked the guest, and in Katahiro's eyes, the beating was justified. Surviving was a blessing. Besides, Katahiro had already declared that Rinji's authority superseded Kengan's rules. In short, Rinji made the rules now. Even if the CEO wanted to protest directly to Rinji, he probably wouldn't dare. If a monster like Adam got hospitalized from one punch, a pudgy middle-aged exec might as well order a coffin. With the first match done, sort of, the second one began. Contestant, Nintendo's fighter, the destroyer Kono Haruo. Height, 242 centimeters. Weight, 315 kilograms. A sweaty, obese shut-in with glasses and a round face. Clear signs of gaming addiction. Despite looking like a little blob, his strength was terrifying. He once wiped out 3 top-tier fighters in a 4-way match. Rumor had it he came from a warrior tribe in Nepal. But even the fiercest warrior can fall to gaming. Fitting for a company that values gameplay above all. His opponent, someone Rinji knew well. Wakaza Life Insurance's fighter, the executioner Akoya Seishu. When Sayaka signaled the match start, both fighters charged at each other. Kai didn't know much about Kono Haruo, but he was very familiar with Akoya's power. He was well beyond human limits. A top-tier fighter. Even against monstrous opponents, he could hold his own. Against a video game-addled fatso, it'd be no contest. Early on, Kono's massive frame let him toss Akoya around, but it wasn't long before Akoya found his rhythm. Oh. Akoya's found his groove and is dominating the fight. Sayaka narrated excitedly. Seems this officer's found the fatty's weak spot. Rinji added. So you can comment seriously? Sayaka blinked. Finished a worksheet? Taking a break. Well, congrats on that. They both turned back to the match. Akoya now dodged every attack with ease and countered viciously, leaving Kono bloodied and battered. Rinji frowned slightly. He realized Akoya hadn't just regained rhythm. He was reading Kono's breathing intervals to anticipate every move. Didn't know he could do that. But something still felt off. It was as if Akoya wasn't moving on his own. Like he was being controlled by a remote. 4 years ago, Akoya was never the type to analyze breathing intervals. He could have crushed Kono with raw strength alone. This method was unnecessarily complicated. A few moves later, Kono fell. Akoya turned coldly away. Just as the referee was about to declare the end, Kono suddenly stood up again and attacked even more fiercely, forcing Akoya to go on the defensive. Then Akoya suddenly dropped the act. A few brutal moves later, Kono was wrecked. The off-putting feeling vanished. Now that was the Akiyama Yao remembered. Winner. Wakaza Life Insurance. Akoya Seishu. Akoya advanced to the top 16. He didn't leave the ring. Instead, he approached the commentary table and stared coldly at Rinji. You're next, Rinji. Oh? I look forward to it. Rinji grinned. Tell Hamashunka to prepare 5% of Wakaza Life Insurance's shares and 3 patents. That'll earn her a shot at me. Akoya ignored him and walked off, but Rinji knew the bet would be honored. After the match, there was a break. Mr. Takuman, you should really speak up more. Sayaka said, pouting slightly as she found him backstage. Even if it's just sarcastic commentary, you're the guest. You need to be more vocal. Do I really have to? What else do you expect? Writing reports and beating up contestants aside, you still have commentary duties. Or are you here to freeload? No, I'm not getting paid. Katahira didn't pay Rinji anything to be a guest commentator. Anyway, you should at least read the info for the next match. Let me see. Rinji picked up the file Sayaka had given him earlier. The next match is between the fighter from Centauri, the exterminating Vicar Makachi Robinson, and Undermount's fighter, the Devil Curie Ion. Oh, these two. Rinji happened to know both of them. Rinji. Suddenly, Karura's voice called out from behind, and she jumped onto Rinji's back, hugging him tightly. Karura? You came backstage? I came looking for you. Karura giggled. I saw you punch that guy Adam just now. You sent him flying with one blow. It was so cool. Ah, thanks for the praise. What a great girl. Any other girl would have probably started worrying about me being too violent. The more time Renji spent with Karura, the more perfect she seemed, and the more he marveled at his own luck. Mr. Takuman, hello. With Karura still on his back, Renji turned around to see the graceful and poised Elena Robinson walking toward him. Karura and Elena were friends. Whenever Renji wasn't around, they were usually glued together. And the next match just so happened to be between their respective close ones. Elena's older brother and Karura's clansman. Chapter 174, Dear Guest. Never mind, do as you like brother, please return safely. Thanks, Elena. Makachi put on his priestly robe and confidently strode toward the arena. His opponent this time was a descendant of the notorious assassination clan Cure. It was bound to be a tough battle. He turned his head and smiled at Karura, who had been standing beside Elena. Karura, I might have to beat your relative. Karura blinked for a second, then gave a gentle smile. Good luck to you too, Makachi. Thanks. Makachi smiled back. If I make it into the top 16, I might have to face your boyfriend. Sorry in advance. No problem. Karura shook her head with confidence on her face. Renji is the strongest. He won't lose. Ha ha ha, you really have faith in him. With that, Makachi walked into the arena. Meanwhile, Renji was elsewhere. Hello? Is the intel reliable? Confirmed. Renji leaned against the backstage wall, making a call to his intelligence division. The one who hired Cure Ryan this time is Undermount Incorporated. For short. The face of the company is a middle-aged man named Masahiko Wada, said the voice on the phone. But he's just a front. His Japanese science division has collaborated with them in neurological research, so we've gathered fairly detailed information. You mean there's someone pulling the strings behind the scenes? Yes, the real boss is a young man named Yamashita Kenzo. The voice continued. He is the eldest son of Yamashita Kazuo, the president of the participating company Yamashita Trading. That guy's son, huh? Renji remembered clearly that Yamashita Kazuo had once told him his eldest son was just a shut-in. Is a major Japanese internet and science company, and the family didn't even know their son started it. Sounds a bit like my dad, doesn't it? Please don't compare them. The boss is way better than that guy. Most of his staff were die-hard fans of Renji's father. Even if Renji himself said something critical, they'd defend his father without hesitation. Besides, that Yamashita Kazuo isn't ordinary either. The intelligence officer's tone became more serious. At first, the intel we had said he was just a regular office worker, forced to join the tournament by Nogi Group for profit. But the fact that he borrowed money to make it all the way to the finals proves he's not simple. That useless facade might just be a cover. He probably knew his son was the president of all along. I see. That does make some sense. Renji frowned. From the beginning of the group selection, Yamashita Kazuo had used a machine to roll out insane numbers. Even with no money, he dared to borrow and gamble his way through the Kengan Annihilation tournament, winning all the way to the main stage. In Renji's eyes, this so-called loser was beginning to look more like a cunning schemer. There's one more thing to report. What is it? The Yamashita residence in Tokyo, where Yamashita Kenzo lives, is now surrounded by a large number of Cure clan members. A trust issue between the company and their fighter. Renji chuckled. Speaking of the Cure clan, I got a girlfriend. Congratulations. Let me tell you, Karura is just... Hello? Can you hear me? Hung up? The Cure clan's top problem child now enters the elimination stage. In the roaring arena, Sayaka was hyped as she began commentary on the upcoming match. Height, 188 centimeters. Weight, 94 kilograms. First-time Kengan competitor, Cure Ryan. Huh? Sayaka froze mid-sentence. Not just her. The entire crowd fell silent for a moment. Because Cure Ryan had just entered the arena with a creepy grin, his body covered in bloodstains, as if he had just killed someone. A seasoned announcer like Sayaka quickly recovered and turned to introduce the other fighter. Hailing from the UK, a warrior blessed by the gods. With Makachi's entrance, the crowd erupted into wild cheers. Height, 189 centimeters. Weight, 99 kilograms. Kengan record, 48 wins, 0 losses. Total earnings for his company, 708.83 billion yen. Representing Satori. The exterminating vicar Makachi Robinson. Boom. With unstoppable momentum, Makachi stepped into the arena. He crossed his arms, smiling calmly as he stared at Ryan. Sayaka returned to the commentary table, where Renji had also come back. Mr. Takuman, both fighters are very strong. What are your thoughts on the outcome of this match? She asked, handing the mic to Renji. Well, Makachi Robinson is an experienced fighter. His record alone shows how formidable he is. Renji took the mic and started commentating, if only to avoid being called a freeloader again. As for Cure Ryan, it's his first time entering, but since he's a descendant of the Cure clan, his strength is unquestionable. He's probably the strongest among them. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm not just the strongest in the Cure clan. Ryan suddenly turned and grinned menacingly at Renji. I'm the strongest of everyone. Oh. Looks like Cure Ryan is full of confidence. Sayaka said excitedly. Mr. Takuman, any response to that bold claim? Renji grabbed the mic and shouted back, the hell, are you the commentator or am I? If you're that good, why don't you come be the guest? Hey, after I kill this guy, I'll come beat you up too. Ryan gave Renji a thumbs down. Renji gave him the middle finger. Piss off. I'm only giving you a chance to redeem yourself because of Karura. Don't push it, you bastard. Oh. Sparks are flying between the guest and the fighter. Looks like we're in for something fun after the top 16 are decided. Though Renji was being completely unprofessional, Sayaka had learned to roll with it to keep the crowd entertained. Now everyone was eagerly awaiting how the top 16 would challenge Renji. Fighters, get into position. On stage, the referee was already giving instructions. Ready. Begin. Chapter 175, Fierce Battle. With the referee's shout, the two fighters charged at each other and kicked simultaneously. With a dull thud, their shins collided, producing the sound of bones clashing. Immediately after, Ryan closed in and unleashed a rapid flurry of punches. But Makachi blocked every single one with his palms. Oh. Cure Ryan is on the offensive, but Makachi Robinson is blocking every blow. Amazing. Sayaka narrated the action. When she turned to look at Renji, that bastard was doing his homework again. He clearly had no intention of properly commentating. Sighing, she elbowed Renji lightly on the shoulder. Oh. Renji looked up at the two trading blows in the ring and half-heartedly said, Ryan's attack speed is crazy. His APM's probably over 300. Sayaka, wait. Are you even commentating a martial arts match? While the two fighters were duking it out in the ring, Renji and Sayaka were watching from the commentary booth. Let's sit over here. I think this spot has a better view. Is it really okay? Just then, Karura pulled Elena over to the commentary area. Elena, seeing where they were, immediately tensed up. It's fine. Karura turned toward Renji. Renji, can Elena and I sit here to watch the match? Oh, of course. Yay. Sayaka. Letting two non-participants sit in the commentary booth. Well, it's not that big a deal. Besides, the two girls were cute. Sayaka figured it was fine to let them sit and watch the match from here. The view returned to the stage. Ryan's attacks grew fiercer while Makachi stayed on the defensive. Almost every blow was blocked, but Makachi rarely counterattacked, and whenever he did, Ryan managed to ward it off. Standing to call the action, Sayaka announced into her mic, up to now, Cure Ryan is leading in total strikes. Will he keep that advantage? Renji kept scribbling homework, chatting with Karura now and then, and glancing at the ring. He noticed two things. First, Ryan wasn't using any real technique. Whether by choice or because he didn't know any was unclear. Second, Makachi wasn't fighting at full strength either. After one fierce exchange, Ryan was the one bleeding, while Makachi remained unscathed. Unconcerned, Ryan flicked his blood-covered hand, spraying drops into Makachi's eyes. A cheap trick, but it worked. The moment Makachi shut his eyes, Ryan grabbed his collar and cocked a fist to smash down. Smack. Before the punch landed, Makachi, eyes still closed, shot up a hand, laced his fingers around Ryan's, and locked their hands together. So that's classical jujutsu. Renji muttered. Traditional schools differ from modern sport fighting. No targets off limits. Most public matches forbid fingerlocks, but Kengan bouts are underground and have no such restrictions. Still smiling, Makachi twisted Ryan's captured hand downward. An ordinary fighter's joints would have popped, but Ryan suddenly laughed, rolled his shoulder and wrist in one motion, and reversed the hold on Makachi's arm. Not bad. He broke the finger lock. Katahara said from the highest box, stroking his beard as he watched with interest. Beside him, Cure Irio chuckled. Naturally. There's no lock the Cure clan can't break. Since the Asuka period, 1300 years ago, the Cure had refined themselves into a battle lineage, marrying clan men to warrior house daughters, or clan women to outsiders to bring in fresh source. Generation upon generation, nearly every Cure was now a born fighter. Given that history, Katahara went on, you strengthen yourselves by taking in new blood. So why object so strongly to your great-granddaughter being with young Renji? His genes are among the world's finest. Surely that benefits the clan. Don't be ridiculous. The moment Karura was mentioned, Irio lost his composure. She's my most precious great-granddaughter. Why should she be used for clan breeding? Ho ho ho. I, for one, am curious. If Renji and the Cure clan combined, what kind of monster would be born? Katahara laughed loud enough to make Ario grit his teeth. Back in the ring the tempo shifted again. Raiyan's raw talent was obvious, but his attacks remained wild. After escaping the joint lock, he suddenly found himself eating a series of crisp boxing hooks and crosses. Makachi's stance had changed, and Raiyan couldn't adjust in time, taking several shots to the head. On Raiyan's last attempted counter, Makachi caught the incoming wrist and hurled him with a shoulder throw. Raiyan flew headfirst into the floor and blood spattered. "Forgive me," Makachi murmured, tracing a little cross over his chest. "I can't show you mercy, rest in peace." Ordinarily, no one gets up after landing head down like that. Ordinarily. Crunch. Makachi had taken only 2 steps when he felt a chill coming from behind. Raiyan pushed himself upright, head still bleeding from the slam. Veins bulged, his skin darkened toward purple. Makachi didn't know what it was, but the pressure rolling off his opponent told him this was about to turn savage. Chapter 176, The brat who doesn't know his place annoys me most. That damned Raiyan. High above, Irio clenched the railing, furious at the sight of Raiyan's distended veins and purple skin. He's using the secret art in front of a crowd. It was shame enough that Raiyan had been slammed, now he dared unveil the technique for all to see. At the commentary table, faces shifted. Elena looked stunned, Karura's brow knit tight. Renji studied Raiyan's grotesque change and boomed into his mic, "What's happening with Raiyan? He's back on his feet, and his skin's turned purple. Like a badly baked yam." Center ring, Raiyan exhaled, eyes crazed at Makachi. "This isn't a high school baseball game," he screamed. "Fun, fair duels? Shit. What I love isn't a duel. It's a one-sided slaughter." Makachi didn't flinch. He reset his stance, but unease gnawed at him. The instinctive dread one feels before a monster. "I'm coming," Raiyan hissed, face twisting inhumanly. And vanished. A heartbeat later, fists rained like a storm. Bam, bam, bam. The blows were still wild, but this time Makachi couldn't keep up, wounds split open across his body. "Brother!" Elena's cry rang from the announcer's stand, but the barrage didn't stop. Bones cracked under the onslaught. The Cure clan's release work like this, most human potential is capped by the brain safety lock. In crisis, we can tap a burst of hidden power. Release forcibly throws that limiter open. Like an adrenaline rush, thud. A punch rattled Makachi senseless. Raiyan seized his collar and flung him like a doll. "Brother!" Elena squeezed her eyes shut, unable to watch. Karura's veins stood out, she crushed the corner of the desk under her grip. She badly wanted to rip Raiyan's neck apart. Boom. After the last slam, Raiyan hoisted the barely conscious Makachi overhead and roared, "I don't care about some old man schemes. Fighters, spectators, that Takam and Renji. My goal is one thing, wipe every last one of you off the map." His black sclera eyes bored into the limp man in his grasp. "You'll be the first. Damn. You." Makachi's eyes reddened. He had reasons he could not lose. He forced his trembling hand up, middle and index fingers joined, and stabbed for Raiyan's eye. His final gamble. Crack. A crisp snap silenced the arena. Makachi's arm dropped uselessly, his head lolled. In that instant Raiyan had broken his neck. Elena stared in horror. Brother? Even with the fight decided, Raiyan didn't stop. He raised Makachi again, aiming for the floor. The referee shouted, "The match is over. Winner." Too slow. Before the ref could finish, Raiyan smashed Makachi headfirst into the ground. One last impact. Enough to declare death. But just as everyone shut their eyes, the expected sound never came. When they opened them again, they were shocked to see that Renji had somehow appeared in the arena, one hand gripping Raiyan's hand that was choking Makachi. The referee already called it. "Let go," Renji said calmly. "No way. What, you want to fight me too?" Raiyan sneered, applying more force to his grip. But the next second, he was stunned. Despite Renji's slender arm, it had monstrous strength. Raiyan found himself unable to move once Renji grabbed him. "I really hate punks who don't understand the rules." Renji looked up, crimson eyes locking onto Raiyan. Crack. Raiyan's muscular right arm was broken instantly. Chapter 177, I'm done with this you. Raiyan's hand loosened immediately after being broken, and Makachi collapsed to the ground. "Brother!" Elena rushed into the ring to catch Makachi, only to find that his neck had been broken. Even emergency treatment might not save him. Several medics entered with a stretcher and carried Makachi away, with Elena crying as she followed. Karura originally wanted to go check on her friend's brother too, but seeing Renji still facing off with Raiyan, She chose to stay where she was. Once the injured were taken away, Renji finally let go. Ryan quickly pulled back his hand, his white pupils within Black's clear burning with rage. I'll overlook this since it's your first offense, Renji said, turning away without even glancing at Ryan. Rest up. I'll look forward to your next match. Hey. You think you can just walk away after breaking my arm? Seeing Renji turn to leave after breaking his arm, Ryan shouted in fury. He'd always been arrogant due to his strength, but now, facing someone even more arrogant, he was infuriated. Don't make trouble for yourself. Renji glanced back at Ryan. The match is over. You won. Be happy about it. How the hell can I be happy, you damn brat? Ryan roared, snapping his broken arm back into place with a crack. I'll kill you right now. Is that so? Renji chuckled and turned back to him. You are allowed to challenge me, since you've made it to the top 16. But there's one more condition, your company must issue the challenge. That means unless some incorporated files a formal request, you have no right to challenge me. TCH. Why are there so many damn rules just to fight? Wait. Please wait a moment. A chubby middle-aged man ran up to them, clearly out of shape and wiping sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. He was the public-facing president of Incorporated, Masahiko. What is it? Yes, Mr. Takaman. There's a call for you. Otto respectfully held out his phone. Renji glanced at the unfamiliar number and placed the phone to his ear. Hello? Good evening, Mr. Takaman. I'm the true president of Incorporated. My name is Yamashita Kenzo, son of Yamashita Kazuo. You're the real boss behind Incorporated, right? You're right. Impressive as always, Mr. Takaman. Yamashita Kenzo admitted his identity without hesitation. What do you want? I couldn't came to Ganru Island myself, but I heard the rules, so I wanted to negotiate something with you. He said. Ryan made it to the top 16, so I'd like your permission to challenge you. 5% of your shares. And your brain research data. No problem. Then it's settled. Have your public president complete the deal with me later. Renji hung up and handed the phone back to Atta. I've spoken with your boss. He'll explain the details. Understood. Thank you, Mr. Takaman. Renji nodded and turned to Ryan with a smile. Your boss agreed. Once all 16 finalists are decided, you'll be allowed to challenge me. I see. Then get ready to die. Ryan grinned wildly, drawing a finger across his neck in a threatening gesture. For the remaining matches, Renji didn't continue guest commentating with Sayaka. Guest commentators had more freedom than staff, and someone as used to freedom as Renji didn't take commentary as a serious job. So during the next few matches, he simply wandered the ship with Kurura. Renji, once the preliminaries are over, you'll be dueling the other top 16 fighters, right? Yep. Renji smiled, looking at Karura, who had her arm wrapped around his. Karura was excited for Renji's upcoming fights. She loved watching him shine in battle. Even though for Renji, these highlights didn't even qualify as playing around. He'd already gone over intel on all the competitors. He more or less knew who the winners would be. So before the prelims even started, he bet big money on those he thought would win. Especially those with ridiculously high odds. He was expecting to make a fortune afterward. While the two were walking through a corridor, something up ahead made Renji pause. In the corner near a wall, a man in a sleeveless Chinese outfit had a short-haired woman cornered, seemingly threatening her. Renji recognized her. She was Togawa Yashiko, CEO of Murder Music. One of the 32 participating companies. And that strange guy in the Chinese outfit. If he remembered right, that was Nikaido Ren, a fighter for Byakuya News. Hey, you over there. Threatening a Kengan Association member could get you disqualified. Who? Nikaido Ren, a young man with delicate features, frowned when he saw Renji and Karura approaching. That's Cure Karura of the Cure clan. And Takaman Renji from Yamano Pharma. These two caught me? According to the intel, he's also a Kengan member. I guess I'll have to silence him for now. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a needle, intending to make Renji briefly lose consciousness. But before he could even flick it, Renji stepped in and grabbed his wrist. Trying to sneak attack me, punk? You. Renji. Watch out. Karura suddenly shouted. A spiky-haired man lunged at Renji from the side. Wham! Renji sidestepped and countered with a smashing blow to the attacker's head, sending him crashing to the ground. Threatening a Kengan member. The only guy who'd pull something like this is Hayami Katsumasa. Renji looked down at the unconscious spiky-haired man and Nikaido Ren, a cruel smile forming on his lips. Nikaido Ren didn't respond. He stood ready, eyeing Renji cautiously. For some reason, facing this boy triggered an intense sense of danger. Ever since I came to Japan, it's been a long time since I killed anyone. Rinji said, smiling. I wonder why. Maybe the environment changed me? Oh well. I'm just tired of it. Chapter 178, Man of Countless Sins. Rinji had never been a normal person. He didn't possess a regular sense of values, worldview, or morality. As people would say, his moral compass was broken. And it had everything to do with his background. He hadn't been normal from the moment he was born. Days filled with war and slaughter were his version of normal. Since coming to Japan, it had all felt like a dream. A dream called peace. But just like 4 years ago, dreams always end. Back then, he had tried to change. Forcing himself to fit into peaceful society for the sake of pursuing Asaka, trying to become a good person. But that goodness was just a mask. The death of Uncle Amano shattered both the dream and the mask. The child who once tried to live in peace saw his true self again. He wasn't a good person. He didn't need to be. Law, ethics, humanity. None of that mattered. Anyone who stood in his way, no matter how many, needed to be erased. That was always in his best interest. Back then, just because one person tried to guilt-trip him on behalf of the majority, he sent that entire majority to hell. He didn't even give them time to finish talking. So why, after 4 years, was he still clinging to this dream of peace? Maybe it was the student council that changed him. Or maybe, unconsciously, he put the mask back on. But the truth remained. He wasn't a good guy. He was a villain. A sinner beyond redemption. I'm done with this. With just a few words, Rinji sent overwhelming pressure crashing down on Nikaido Ren. Yashiko, who had just been saved, wanted to thank Rinji, but the killing intent radiating from him froze her in place. Rinji looked up at Nikaido Ren, smiling slightly. Hayami Katsumasa sent you losers to pressure other companies, right? Just now, you were trying to force Murder Music to withdraw. Because their next match is against Toyo Electric, and he doesn't want his fighter to get injured beforehand. So what if you figured it out? Nikaido Ren frowned. You think you alone can change anything? No need to change anything. I'll just kill all of you, and everything will be over. Rinji said with a smile. It's precisely because trash like you can't see your own limits that you crawl around in front of me. Oh? So you're an enemy of the boss too, huh? Ren had known from the start that Rinji was Hayami Katsumasa's enemy, but since the boss had instructed that now was not the time to deal with him, he hadn't bothered to take action. But now it seemed, he had no choice but to eliminate this boy. His eyes narrowed as he suddenly lunged at Rinji, leaping up to deliver a flying kick. According to the reports, you're a Chinese martial arts expert. Rinji dodged to the side, then quickly stepped forward. With a twist of his spine, he drove a powerful punch into Ren's chest. PFFT. The punch carried internal force, and his chest caved in from the blow. Most Chinese martial arts emphasize power rooted in the ground. So why did you choose to jump? Looking at Ren, who had dropped to his knees and was coughing up blood, Rinji stepped forward and grabbed his hair, lifting him up to face him. Attacking midair is a grave mistake. I'm really curious what kind of Chinese martial art you were taught. Wham! Without waiting for an answer, Rinji's knee smashed into his face, destroying his once handsome features in an instant. Since you're Hayami Katsumasa's dog, let me send you off. Just as Rinji raised Nikaido Ren by the hair, ready to deliver the final blow, a gust of wind came from behind. The spiky-haired man Rinji had smashed into the ground earlier had woken up and swung a knife-hand strike at him. Pa! Rinji casually raised his hand to catch the attack and twisted the arm backward, dislocating the joint with ease. Only then did Rinji get a good look at him. A muscular body with a hunched posture, a crazed, unhealthy grin, heavy breathing, and eyes filled with bloodshot veins and even tears of blood. This was clearly no normal person. It's enough now. It's enough. The man muttered while grinning, blood tears dripping. Kill. Let me kill. Just let me kill. Rinji recalled the file Sayaka had given him. The fighter from Umiachi Securities. Meguro Masaki. Back when he was a boy, he had killed everyone in his dojo, including his own father. He had been on the run until Hayami took him in. A man utterly unable to suppress his lust for killing. Even after having his arm broken by Rinji, he didn't show the slightest pain. Instead, it only fired him up more. He grabbed Rinji's collar, trying to throw him over his shoulder. But Rinji's feet might as well have been rooted to the floor. They didn't budge. Pointless move. Rinji spoke flatly and countered with a punch to the head. Boom. This time, Rinji used a bit of strength. And cracked Meguro's skull. No matter how pain-tolerant he was, it didn't matter. A clean kill ended everything. Blood began to drip from Meguro's nose and ears, and he collapsed. Fighter Meguro Masaki. Dead. Meguro. You bastard. Don't rush. You're next. Rinji placed his palm on Ren's chest. A boom echoed as a tremendous force passed through him. Ren looked at Renji in disbelief as his heart stopped on the spot. Blood streamed from his eyes and nose, and his pupils gradually lost focus. Just before losing consciousness, the image of Renji appeared in his eyes like a demon from hell. I already told you. I'm done. Thud. Ren fell to the floor. Blood gushed from all 7 orifices, dyeing the ground red. Meguro Masaki and Nikaido Ren, 2 fighters from Toyo Electric, were now eliminated. They would never compete again. Chapter 179, Can I Dissect You? Renji never had any craving for killing, but he also never felt guilt about it. To him, killing was simply a means to achieve his goals. Before taking action, he always weighed the cost and the benefit. If the benefit outweighed the cost, he acted without hesitation. If the cost outweighed the benefit, he stopped. However, looking back on Renji's 16 years of life, far too many had died by his hand. The reason? The cost of killing was simply too low for him. Almost negligible. The only time he truly considered stopping and becoming a good person was 4 years ago, when he met Hayasaka. Back then, he had thought, if I keep being a monster, Hayasaka will hate me. At that moment, the cost of killing reached its peak in Renji's heart. That was why he didn't cause chaos when he first arrived in Japan. But when Uncle Amano was forced to his death by the Shinomiya family, Renji's rage made him abandon the balance of cost and gain. Just like those fools in fairy tales who break the seal on a demon. Hayasaka had once sealed the demon herself. The Shinomiya family then undid that seal with their own hands. Now, no one had appeared who could seal the demon again. Because the demon had realized what he truly was. Thud. Nikaido Ren collapsed, blood spreading across the floor. Renji gazed at the corpses with indifferent eyes. This was his true self. One unbound by morality or humanity, ruled only by his own will. Why, after half a year in Japan, were so many who had offended him still alive? Whether it was Ojinoko or the main Shinomiya family. Why hadn't he slaughtered them like he once would have? Was it just because he didn't want to be hated? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. After killing both of them, Renji covered his bloodied face and laughed madly. This was him. Scum who didn't see people as people. What was he doing, pretending to be a good guy? Renji. Renji stopped laughing and turned to look at Karura, who stared at him with worried eyes. His girlfriend was still here. What a mistake. He'd just let her see the most brutal part of him, right after finally finding someone. Sorry, Karura. Renji said with a wry smile. But this is who I really am. You'll probably hate me. Geez, why are you touching your face with bloody hands? Karura said with concern, taking out a handkerchief and gently wiping the blood from his face. You're not disgusted by me? Why would I be? Karura blushed. I love you the most, Renji. She was the daughter of the Cure clan, an assassin family. Everyone in her family, her 30-something mother, 50-year-old father, and 15-year-old brother, were killers. She herself had blood on her hands, so she wasn't bothered in the slightest by Renji's actions. To her, Renji's clean execution of 2 powerful fighters wasn't cruel. It was powerful. And the stronger Renji showed himself to be, the more her love for him deepened. I see. Renji's expression softened. A relieved smile spread across his face. I'm so lucky to have met you, Karura. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanafusa. It's nothing. In the infirmary, Elena bowed deeply to a young doctor in a white coat, who simply smiled and waved off the gratitude. However, he looked at the unconscious Makachi lying in bed and smiled disturbingly. If I ever get the chance, I'd love to dissect this powerful fighter. Doctor, please don't joke like that. A young nurse beside him sighed helplessly. This doctor was named Hanafusa Hajime. He was handsome, slim, and surprisingly, a fighter himself, representing To University. Makachi had suffered serious injuries in his fight against Ryan. His neck had been broken. The fact he was still alive was already a miracle. And Dr. Hanafusa happened to be someone skilled in creating miracles. Just then, the infirmary doors opened, and Karura rushed in. How's Makachi's condition? She asked Elena. Thanks to Dr. Hanafusa, his life is stable for now. Elena looked at Makachi, who lay with a cervical brace and on a ventilator. But he's still unconscious. I see. Thank you, Dr. Hanafusa. Karura said. No problem. It's just my job. Hanafusa looked at Karura and smiled. You're from the Cure clan, right? May I dissect you? Doctor, what the hell are you saying to a girl? The nurse pulled the doctor back and scolded him. I was just asking. Nope. Karura smiled. Renji wouldn't allow it. That's such a shame. No, it's not a shame, doctor. The nurse facepalmed. She really didn't know why she'd been assigned to assist such a crazy person like Dr. Hanafusa. By the way, where's Mr. Takaman? Elena asked. I still haven't thanked Mr. Takaman. It's thanks to him that my brother was saved from Kuraiyan. Rinji should be just behind us. Garura replied. As soon as she spoke, Rinji walked in holding a phone, seemingly having just ended a call. Oh, you're all here. That guy named Makachi, his injuries should be. Before anyone could answer, Dr. Hanafusa suddenly stepped in front of Rinji and grabbed his hand. You must be Takaman Rinji, right? Yeah, that's me. Can I dissect you? Dr. Hanafusa asked with a grin. Doctor, that's enough already. The nurse finally snapped, moving to drag him back. Rinji paused for a moment, then smiled and said, maybe another time. Chapter 180, The Unpredictable Nature of Things in the Infirmary. Aside from the full suite of medical equipment and staff, there was a 40-inch LCD screen on the wall showing a detailed live stream of the matches. Just after Rinji had left the arena, the next match began, Takata Ouma vs Inabario, known as the Black Phantom from Panasonic. The result, Takata Ouma won. At the critical moment, his skin turned red again as he defeated his opponent. Ever since Raiyan's match, Rinji had noticed a pattern. One move released latent potential, the other accelerated blood flow. Though the mechanics were different, the results were quite similar. The only real difference was that one turned into a baked purple yam and the other into a roasted red one. By the way, Takata Ouma's title was Azura. A pretty cool name. Hey, Rinji. Garura suddenly asked, what's your title? Title? What's it even for? I don't really know either, but all of us seem to have one. Garura said, tapping her chin. At least, I have one. Huh? You have a title? Yeah. Mine is Succubus. Garura smiled. Apparently, not only fighters had titles. Most of the Cure clan did too. For example, the man who had once fought Rinji, Cure Fujui, was known as the Wicked Shooter. The Cure clan's leader, Cure Iryo, shared a title with Kana Ajido, Fang of Matsudo. Of course, Kana Ajido was the fifth-generation Fang, while Cure Iryo was the first. It was said that Iryo had once been the fighter for Katahara himself and had helped him win the position of chairman of the Kengan Association. Rinji, you'll be facing challenges from the top 16 soon. Why not come up with a title? Well, I'm not really interested in stuff like titles. Rinji thought for a moment. But if I need one. Let's see. I'm basically invincible, so I should pick something unbeatable. How about Invincible Parasite? Karura, what is that? Hanafusa, let's not bring up outdated patch notes. TCH, so it's no longer meta? As they chatted, the next match on screen was nearing its end. Furami Pharmaceuticals Wild Tiger Wakatsuki Takeshi vs United Clothing's The Immeasurable Murabuchi Gozo. Winner, Wakatsuki Takeshi. With overwhelming strength, he easily defeated the similarly large Murabuchi. That Wakatsuki guy's not bad. Rinji said, watching the screen with a smile. His physical strength is definitely abnormal. Yeah. I really want to dissect him. Dr. Hanafusa remarked with admiration. You sure love dissecting people. It's just a personal hobby. But honestly, I'm more interested in dissecting you. If you want to dissect me, better pick a good time. Rinji smiled calmly. Despite the creepy request, Rinji didn't seem the least bit disturbed. As they spoke, the door to the room opened. Inabario, with his thick long hair, was wheeled in unconscious. With him was the young CEO of Panasonic, Rita Tsukizo. The nature of fighter battles was brutal. There was no points system. Victory was determined by surrender or inability to continue. As such, losers were often either seriously injured or killed, which was why fighters typically had short careers. Doctor, please save Ryo. Leave it to me. Dr. Hanafusa smiled and pulled Inabario into the treatment room. Though a dissection maniac, he was a doctor at heart. Once a patient arrived, he immediately went into professional mode. It was hard to believe such a person was also a fighter. After a short break, the screen displayed the next match. Murder Music's Sawada Zaburo. The gay guy who had invited Rinji to dinner during prelims. Was up against Toyo Electric's German fighter, Julius Reinhold. If Rinji hadn't intervened to stop Nikaido Ren from threatening Togawa Yashiko, Sawada might have withdrawn before even entering the stage. But even without a withdrawal, the result would have been the same. Julius was a man with terrifying muscles. His physique looked entirely beyond what humans could naturally achieve. No matter what attacks Sawada launched, Julius didn't even flinch. No technique was needed. Just sheer strength to win. In the end, Julius broke Sawada's leg and threw him aside, claiming victory. What a shame. Rinji said coldly, watching the broadcast. A solid fighter, But anyone on Toyo Electric's side needs to be eliminated. Victory decided. The winner. Julius Reinhold. The unconscious, one-legged Sawada Zaburo was carried off by medics as the referee loudly declared Julius's win. However, in the audience, Hayami Katsumasa didn't look pleased. According to plan, Sawada was supposed to forfeit. He didn't want Julius getting injured in the prelims. Frowning, with half of his burned face looking even more sinister, Hayami sat in a wheelchair. His body was bound in bandages, bones shattered by Rinji's assault. He was currently incapable of normal movement. Nika Ida ran. What the hell were you doing? Soon, the next match began. One of Rinji's former subordinates, the genocider Mutaba Jizenga, was matched against the crying man Meguro Masaki. As Sayaka announced the fighters' names, Hayami calmed his mind. He had adopted Meguro years ago, the boy behind a brutal mass murder. He had raised him just for this moment. Meguro was incredibly strong and mentally unstable. Once in the ring, he would go on a rampage. Seeing Mutaba step in, Hayami's mouth curled into a grin. Go wild, Meguro Masaki. However, at that very moment, Sayaka seemed to receive some news and picked up the microphone. Due to Meguro Masaki being found dead in the hallway of the dome, he is unable to continue. Therefore, Mutaba Jizenga advances by default. Hayami Katsumasa. Chapter 181, Power Distribution Doctor. As the tournament continued, the infirmary saw a steady stream of new patients. This time, it was Sawada Zaburo, who had just been defeated by Julius. His tibia was completely broken, and his shoulder was injured from being slammed to the ground. If left untreated, he could be forced into early retirement. The doctor is currently treating another patient. The nurse bowed, recognizing both Sawada and Murder Music's CEO, Togawa Yashiko. That bad, huh? If you'd like, I could help with a basic dressing? The nurse offered with a smile. Her name was Yashizawa Kokami, a nurse secretary from the affiliated hospital of To University. Despite being a professional, her low-cut nurse outfit and fishnet stockings made her look more like she was cosplaying. That would be fine. No way. Even with a broken leg, Sawada was as dramatic as ever. I refuse to be treated by a woman. I'm waiting for the hot guy doctor. Dr. Hanafusa is busy right now. And don't move, or your wound will open. I don't care. Can you stop acting like a child? Standing nearby, Rinji looked at the obviously broken tibia. He pulled a ring from his pocket and slipped it on, then grabbed a white coat and put it on. Ms. Yashizawa, how about letting me take care of it? I know a thing or two about treating trauma. You can treat it? As long as you don't ask to see my medical license, there's no problem. Rinji smiled. But you'll do. Sawada Zaburo instantly lay flat on the bed. Let the hot guy from the prelims treat me. If I end up crippled, it's on me. Yashizawa sighed and rubbed her forehead. Fighters really weren't normal. She rolled his bed to a window side corner of the infirmary. Rinji walked up and gently placed his ringed hand on the injured leg. Handsome, want to have dinner with me tonight? Shut it. I have a girlfriend. Rinji said calmly, pressing down. Tiny blue sparks ran from his fingers into Sawada's leg. As Sawada cried out in pain, the bruising faded, and the broken bone quickly knit itself back together. Is it done? It's done. Rinji replied, taking off the white coat and hanging it up. Thank you. Togawa Yashiko bowed deeply. Thank you, Mr. Takaman. For saving me, and for healing Sawada's injury. You're welcome. He saved you? Sawada hopped down and casually performed a few high-difficulty kicks. As he was admiring Rinji's impressive healing skills, he turned to Togawa's words with curiosity. It's like this. Earlier, I was threatened by someone sent by Hayami Katsumasa, trying to force me to withdraw from the Kengan Annihilation tournament. In other words, you were originally going to forfeit. What? Sawada's face twisted in an instant. Those bastards actually resorted to such despicable tactics? I'll kill them. No need for you to act. Rinji sat calmly on a nearby stool, removed the ring from his hand, and put it back in his pocket. Because they're already dead. Huh? Seeing Sawada's surprised expression, Rinji smiled faintly. When you fighters say I'll kill you or I'll tear you apart, you usually mean going all out with your attacks. Whether it results in death depends on the circumstances. But I'm different. If I decide to kill someone, they're already dead. Miss Togawa, I hope killing those two idiots won't cause you any issues? It will cause some. Togawa sighed, then looked at Rinji seriously. Mr. Takaman, since you just joined the Kengan Association, you probably don't know about the three major factions within it. Huh? Thought so. You're not aware. She said patiently. Kengan matches are essentially corporate warfare. Fighters may see everyone as opponents, but companies often form alliances based on mutual interest. There are currently 3 major factions in the Kengan Association: the 3 Nobles, the 4 Dragons, and the Society of 100. The 3 Nobles are CEO of Centauri, Hashida Takashi, and Nintendo's CEO Kono Akio. And one other that went bankrupt during the Meiji era. She explained. I see. Rinji glanced at the still unconscious Makochi Robinson. Nintendo's fighter had also been defeated by Koya, which meant that all the 3 stars had already been wiped out in this tournament. Togawa continued. The 4 Dragons consist of 4 companies: Okano Tesuki of Byakuya News, Ida Tadashi of Yado Trading, Furumi Hachi of Furumi Pharmaceuticals, and lastly, Nogi Hideki of the Nogi Group. That weirdo with the eccentric fashion must be. That's right. Togawa's expression turned grave. Nikaido Ren, Byakuya News fighter. So that means one of the 4 dragons has already fallen under Hayami's control. And finally, there's the biggest force in the Kengan Association. Association of 100, composed of 100 companies. Their leader is Hayami Katsumasa. 100 companies. Rinji muttered thoughtfully. Looks like you realize how serious this is. Togawa said tiredly. Take me for example. Aside from threatening my life, they had other tactics too. My company relies on disc manufacturing and licensing talent. If we lose access to raw materials or licensing, we're finished. The Association of 100 covers every aspect of Japan's supply chain. If they decide to sanction use, our company collapses and 1,000 employees lose their jobs. I get the picture. Rinji now understood how bad things could get. He was planning to start operating Amano Pharmaceuticals. If the 100 Association came after him, the company might go bankrupt before it even launched. Even if he killed Hayami Katsumasa, there might just be another leader to replace him. Which meant the most cost-effective and efficient solution would be kill the upper management of all 100 companies. Chapter 182, The delivery has arrived. So, you've already brought the delivery, huh? I knew that old fox would try a trick like this. By the cliffside of Ganru Island, waves crashed endlessly against the rocks. Rinji stood facing the sea, talking on his phone. Soon after, the air above distorted slightly, and an armed helicopter appeared, hovering in the sky. It slowly descended, its rotors blowing sand and grass all over the place. When the blade stopped, a soldier in uniform stepped down and walked directly to Rinji, handing him a beautifully wrapped box. Lieutenant, the package has been delivered. Thanks for your effort. Rinji took the box with a smile. And the cleanup? Don't worry. 2 of them tried to flee after learning we were onto them. They've been eliminated. Good. Then Lieutenant, I'll be taking my leave. After saluting, the soldier climbed back into the helicopter. As the blades began to spin again, the helicopter lifted off and vanished into the clouds. Rinji watched the disappearing craft and smiled, running a hand over the box. Still warm. Makes for a respectable gift. Mr. Takaman. From the woods behind Rinji emerged a group of men in black suits, nearly all of them armed. Leading them was a sharp-looking man with a single braid and a teardrop-shaped tattoo on his left cheek. So it's you guys. What, I pick up a delivery and you dispatch the Annihilation Squad? No. Father already briefed me on your situation. The man replied. His name was Katahiro Retsudo, son of Kengan Association Chairman Katahiro Metsudo. Unlike Sayaka, who was born of a mistress, he was the legitimate heir. He currently served as the commander of the most secretive bodyguard combat squad. The Extermination Force. He bowed slightly to Rinji. Actually, we received intel about a group trying to force their way onto Ganru Island. Our squad's mission was to locate and eliminate them. I figured as much. Hayami must have sent a bunch of his goons to cause trouble here, ruin the tournament. Rinji chuckled, pulling out a cigarette. Retsudo lit it for him with a lighter. Exhaling smoke, Rinji gazed at the boundless sea. But they'll never make it. What do you mean? Even before I arrived at Ganru Island, I was already investigating Hayami. Some things that happened 4 years ago made me realize I'd have to take measures. What I didn't expect was to see his name among the participants. Rinji was referring to the incident involving the kidnapping of Ryuju Momo. The mastermind behind that group was none other than Toyo Electric, led by Hayami Katsumasa. I've had someone tracking him and all of his subsidiary companies. Right after the preliminaries ended, an hour before the main tournament began, several groups attempted to land on the island. Some were his forces, others were mercenaries. Just as I suspected. So where are they now? Dead. Rinji flicked the almost finished cigarette to the ground and stepped on it. After visiting Makochi in the infirmary, I got a call. My people, while patrolling near Ganru Island, spotted an unregistered ship. They tried to make contact, but there was no response. He glanced at Retsudo. Clearly Hayami's men. So I ordered a Hellfire missile strike on the vessel. They're probably fish food by now. We owe you our thanks, Mr. Takaman. Retsudo bowed again. Despite being older, he always showed deep respect for Renji. Anyway, your squad can rest for now. The surrounding sea is secured by A forces. Hayami's men can't even get close. That may be, but father never authorized a direct strike on Toyo Electric's personnel. Retsudo replied. After all, there's still no conclusive evidence that Hayami intends to harm us. I don't need evidence to kill. Just the thought is enough. Hayami Katsumasa sat in his room, frustrated. He wanted to stomp his foot to relieve the irritation, but ever since Renji beat him, even slight movements brought intense pain. The source of his frustration was the inability to reach Nikaido Ren. Or any of the people he sent to the island. Everything was going wrong. At that moment, the big screen began displaying the next match. Sayaka appeared on screen with a complicated expression. Due to the fighter from Byakuya News, Nikaido Ren, being found dead in the arena, the winner of this match is Kurosetsuna of Koyo Academy Group. Hayami Katsumasa. Something was seriously off. 2 key pieces sacrificed, the rest missing, and all his plans were going up in smoke. Could it be? Click. The door opened suddenly. Renji walked in, carrying a fancy gift box. Long time no see, Hayami Katsumasa. Takuman Renji. It's you. Of course it's me. Relax. I'm just here to apologize. Renji said with a smile. But his smile did nothing to ease Hayami's anxiety. My men. You killed them, didn't you? Sharp as ever. You're way too arrogant, boy. Hayami said angrily. Don't forget. You still have people you care about back in Tokyo. You mean Momo-senpai, right? Ever since I saved her from being kidnapped 4 years ago, you've known we had a connection. So after I came to the island, you sent someone to watch her. But can you still contact that person? No. He couldn't. And that was one of the reasons for his unease. Cheer up. I brought you a gift. Renji placed the box on the table in front of Hayami and turned to leave. Hope you like it. After Renji left, Hayami let out a deep breath. But he quickly eyed the gift with suspicion, thinking it might be a bomb. Then, red liquid began to seep out from the bottom of the box. Startled, Hayami slapped the box away. It hit the ground, came apart. And a bloody human head rolled out. The eyes were wide open, staring straight at him. Ah! He was so frightened he nearly fell out of his wheelchair. It was the severed head of the subordinate he had sent to monitor Ryuju Momo. Chapter 183, I've already touched that head. Damn you, Takuman Renji. Staring at the bloodied severed head on the floor, the startled Hayami forced himself to suppress the rage boiling inside. Back in the day, he had competed with Katahiro for the position of chairman of the Kengan Association. After losing, half his face was disfigured in a fire. He endured humiliation for years, scheming until this very Kengan Annihilation tournament. His long-awaited chance to finally claim that position. He had used every trick in the book, bribery, coercion, talent recruitment, even building his power base from scratch. Everything was for this moment. And now, because of one person, it had all crumbled. Takuman Renji. This youth. This wasn't their first clash. The first time was when Takuman rescued Ryuju Momo. That's when Hayami first learned that the mastermind behind the Ryujuka clan's affair seemed to be a young boy. The second time was 2 years ago. Hayami had legally obtained land in the Middle East via local government channels and started construction on a power plant. He used official documentation to evict the native inhabitants and quickly completed the facility. But somehow, those natives contacted Yu. Shortly after, Takuman Renji came alone to negotiate. Hayami knew of Yu, the infamously brutal organization that fueled and trafficked in war. Being targeted by them meant certain doom. Still, he believed Yu had declined since that man vanished from the public eye. With backing from local authorities and international law, plus his disdain for a mere brat, Hayami rejected Renji's demands, citing his lawful ownership of the land. Renji had only chuckled lightly and left. The next day, Hayami and his employees received a notice. He would be conducting military exercises on the premises. They were told to evacuate. Though alarmed, Hayami thought, we have hundreds of people working here. He wouldn't dare attack. Doing so would be mass murder. Then, a thermobaric bomb was dropped. The plant and everyone inside were turned to ash. Only Hayami survived. He had been out on an inspection. They really dared to massacre. Even after that man disappeared, the organization had been taken over by another lunatic. Only later did Hayami learn some EU operatives were former soldiers from that area. When their homeland was threatened, they reached out to EU leadership. And that's how Renji was dispatched to handle it. Hayami himself was a cruel businessman. He used threats, coercion, even targeted people's families to get what he wanted. But he made one fatal mistake. Never try to out-cruel Takuman Renji. So Katahiro met Sudo. This is why you invited Takumin Renji to the Kengan Annihilation Tournament, huh? He now realized Kataher had seen through his schemes early and brought in this terrifying man specifically to eliminate him. And Renji had done exactly that. Every fighter Hayami had planted in the tournament, every covert operative he had waiting outside the venue. Gone. He was completely helpless now. Mr. Hayami. A few of his bodyguards entered, concerned after seeing his expression. I'm fine. Just get rid of this disgusting thing. Hayami said irritably, pointing to the severed head. Yes, sir. Despite feeling grossed out, the guards reluctantly approached and picked it up. Then, they heard a sound from inside the head. Beep. 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 What are you waiting for? Get rid of it. But Mr. Hayami, this thing. Beep. 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 Hayami was older now, and his hearing wasn't what it used to be. But even he could hear it once the guard brought the head closer. His eyes widened in horror. Get it away from me. Huh? Beep. Beep. Boop. Boom. A massive explosion ripped through the room. The entire chamber, including the door, was blown to pieces. It's over. Renji smiled slightly and picked up the microphone. The winner is Kana Achido. The final preliminary match has ended. Let's congratulate the 16 advancing fighters who will proceed to the quarterfinals. And for those who lost, don't be discouraged. We hope to see you shine again in future Kengan matches. Having completed his task, Renji returned to the commentary booth to help announce the rest of the matches alongside Sakaya. With Kana defeating Okubo Naoya from Muji TV, the preliminaries were officially over. But the 16 victorious fighters, and more accurately, the corporations behind them, now faced one more special task: earn the right to challenge Takumin Renji. As the last match concluded, several of the corporations and fighters began discussing their next moves. Hey, you're not seriously thinking of challenging Takumin, are you? Togo Tamari looked at the ever-smiling Koroshi Rhino. I am. Ray has always wanted to fight that boy. So I agreed. Rhino smiled. Aren't you joining too? Of course I am. Then how about an alliance? Screw that. Who wants to team up with you? Togo laughed. My fighter Mutaba Jizenga is more than enough on his own. She was lying. She had no intention of challenging Renji herself. Just trying to bait others into doing it. Seeing Koroshi Rhino take the bait, she could hardly hide her smile. Elsewhere. Mr. Oma, please reconsider. No need. This is my one and only chance to challenge that guy again. Inside a private office, besides Takeda Oma and Yamashita Kazuo, were Nogi Hideki, Aki Yamakta, and Nogi Group's fighter Hatsumi-sen. Also present were Furumi Pharmaceuticals CEO Furumi Hachi and their fighter Wakatsuki Takeshi. They had already agreed to form an alliance and challenge Renji together. But Mr. Oma. Your body. I'll be fine. Oma grinned, but he knew the truth. At least before it's all over. Let me challenge that man one last time. Even if it costs my life. Chapter 184, The challenge matches the morning after the preliminaries and the announcement of the top 16. Hello? President, your voice already sounds so full of energy and it's only been 5 days. Renji laughed. How's the new job treating you? I'm still getting used to being a bank president. Honestly, it still feels like I'm dreaming. On the other end of the line, Shirogane Miyuki sat at his desk in a sharp suit, chatting with Renji. Ever since becoming president of the Dainapon Bank, Miyuki had lived under immense pressure. Every day he was constantly on alert during work hours, and burning the midnight oil studying finance. The first 3 days were absolutely exhausting. Fortunately, things had calmed down a bit today. There wasn't that much actual work. Mainly signing papers, not all that different from his time as student council president. The only real difference was the stress and specialized knowledge. As long as you're adjusting, that's good. 5 more days, hang in there. Renji chuckled. I'll be back in Tokyo tonight. Still have some loose ends to tie up, but I'll come by your place later. Great. Oh, will your girlfriend be coming too? Miyuki clearly remembered Renji mentioning he had a girlfriend now. You mean Kurura? Renji glanced at the girl in front of him. He was using a Bluetooth headset to talk to Miyuki, because both hands were busy combing Kurura's long, smooth, dark hair. She probably won't come with me tonight. She needs to wait a few more days. After receiving the challenge applications from the top 16 fighters, Renji would be done and free to leave. But members of the Cure clan had to remain until the tournament officially ended. I see. Miyuki thought for a moment and said, school's about to start again. My term ends right before vacation's over, so the day before school starts, let's all clean the student council office together. It's gotten pretty dusty. Got it. After ending the call, Renji continued combing Karura's hair. Renji, are you really leaving tonight? Yeah. Things are pretty much wrapped up here, so I figured I'd head back first. I see. Though reluctant to see him go, Karura didn't argue. After all, she also went to high school in Tokyo. It would be easy to see each other again. Send me your address. I'll come find you once I'm back. Rinji smiled, put down a comb, and gently ruffled her head. After a night of discussion, the top 16 corporations were busy plotting how to deal with Rinji. Many of the fighters were too proud to team up and wanted to challenge him solo. And that made sense. Fighters had their pride. Even brutal ones wouldn't easily accept ganging up on someone. Fortunately for the corporations, they, not the fighters, made the final decision. In the end, the pre-quarter-final event was announced, the challenge matches. First challenger, Wakaza Life Insurance Executioner Akoya Seishu, solo challenge. Second challenger, Undermount Incorporated's Devil Cure Raiyan, solo challenge. Third challenger group, Yato Trading Co.'s God of War Kaolin Wangzawat, Jua Communications Bloody Tusk Bando Yohei, Gold Pleasure Group's Lightning God Mekazuchi Ray, and Village of the Dawn's Howling Fighting Spirit Yorozuka Sapain, 4-on-1. Fourth challenger group, Nishionji Security Services King of Stranglers Imai Cosmos and Gandai's Hell's Angel Sekibayashi Jun, 2-on-1. Fifth challenger group, Nogi Group's Floating Cloud Hatsumi Sen, Yamashita Trading Co.'s Azura Takata Oma, and Furumi Pharmaceuticals Wild Tiger Wakatsuki Takeshi, 3-on-1. Final challenger, Motorhead Motors Devil Lance Kuroki Gensai, solo challenge. Out of the top 16, 12 chose to challenge Rinji. It made sense. Though the opponent was powerful, a win could end everything. Most companies weren't going to pass on that gamble. There might be a loss in defeat, but a win would mean massive gains. There were a total of 6 groups of challengers, and all matches were scheduled to be completed today. This meant that unlike other fighters who only had to fight once a day, Rinji would have to finish all 6 matches in a single day, facing a total of 12 opponents. Many fighters felt that this was far too cruel for a 16-year-old kid. In theory, the later the challenge, the greater the benefits. But the risks also increased. They believed Rinji would inevitably accumulate injuries as the fights progressed, becoming increasingly exhausted. However, if someone defeated him early, the later challengers would be disqualified. Welcome to the Kengan Annihilation Tournament's challenger matches. The winner will directly secure ultimate victory. Sayaka stood at the center of the arena, shouting enthusiastically into the microphone. Cheers erupted all around from the crowd, all eager to witness this unique and extreme challenge. Without further ado, let's welcome the first challenger, from Wakaza Life Insurance. The Executioner. Akoya Seishu. Boom. Flames burst out from both sides of the entrance. Akoya, dressed in a white GI, walked out from within. He gently placed a finger to his ear and asked in a low voice, "Can you hear me?" "Yes." A woman's voice replied through his earpiece. It was Wakaza Life Insurance's CEO, Hamashunka. Inside Akoya's ear was a bone conduction micro-earpiece used for direct communication with Hama. She analyzed the opponent and fed real-time data to Akoya, almost as if remote controlling him. This time, skip the analysis. I'm using our trump card. Takuman Rinji isn't a normal opponent. That kind of thing won't work on him anymore. Akoya shut off the tiny earpiece hidden in his ear, his expression growing stern as he looked ahead. At that moment, Sayaka loudly announced the name of the challenged fighter. The challenger has entered. Now, let's welcome the one being challenged. Calamity. Takuman Rinji. Chapter 185, Calamity Takuman Rinji 4 years ago. The suicide of the president of Amano Pharmaceuticals didn't stir much attention. It was as if someone wanted to keep the matter quiet. But just 3 days ago, a fire broke out at an internet company and a media outlet. The remains of the executives found inside had been reduced to charred corpses. According to autopsy reports, they had already died before the fire started. Cause of death, stab wounds. Fatal strikes to vital organs. MMPH. Inside the office of a pharmaceutical company, over 30 executives were tied to chairs, their mouths stuffed with cloth. Every one of them had fear in their eyes. Lying on the ground in front of them was a middle-aged man foaming at the mouth, eyes bloodshot and devoid of light. A 12-year-old boy threw aside a syringe and peeled off his plastic gloves. Just as I thought. Uncle Amano's suicide involved all of you. To get the license for the new drug, you colluded with the Shinomiya family's media companies to spread falsehoods. You even found and threatened Uncle Amano's family. I guess that's the Shinomiya family for you. Filthy to the core. Unfortunately for you, you ran into me. Rinji chuckled and kicked the unconscious man aside. Your president was loyal to the Shinomiya family. No matter what I asked, he kept his mouth shut. Good thing I brought truth serum. Though I forgot to dilute it. 3 doses and he's probably not salvageable. He walked up to one of the bound, gagged men, ignoring his tear and snot-covered face, and patted his cheek. After Uncle Amano died, I realized something. Even if I killed all of you, he wouldn't come back. But this is a matter of principle. So unfortunately, none of you are going to walk out alive. MMPH. Miles per hour. If you're trying to say you have a wife and kids and want me to spare you. Sorry. I'll just send them along to keep you company. Renji suddenly grinned and grabbed the man's face. You have to pay the price for your actions. And I get to decide what that price is. Beep beep beep. From outside, sirens wailed. Through the window, Renji saw police cars pull up. Officers with riot shields and guns poured out, forming a line. So it's the Japanese police. Renji let go and walked out of the building alone. Don't move. As Renji emerged, the armed officers all aimed their guns at him. The lead officer, tall and helmeted, stepped forward and barked, Takuman Renji, you are suspected of multiple homicides and threatening public safety. Cooperate with our investigation. No need to say suspected. I killed those 40-something people. Despite the guns pointed at him, Renji showed no fear. Just a bright smile. Raising his hands in mock surrender, he smiled and said, but maybe get your priorities straight. There are still a few people tied up inside. Aren't you going to save them? The officer glanced behind and seemed to radio for orders. Eventually, 5 officers broke off to head into the building. The rest kept their guns trained on Renji. Officer, may I ask a question? Shut up. Hands behind your head, squat down. Never mind. I don't hold a grudge against you. You can all walk away unharmed. But. Suddenly, Renji's fingers opened, and the officer saw a small remote in his hand. You. Click. Boom. The moment he pressed the button, the entire building erupted in flames, the explosion lighting up the sky. The officers who had gone inside were blown back by the shockwave, landing next to their commander. Thanks to their armor, none were killed, but they were definitely injured. The people tied up inside, though, were beyond saving. You bastard. All the officers aimed their rifles at Renji's head, fingers tightening on their triggers, awaiting the commander's order. Commander. A subordinate rushed to the officer's side, hesitating before speaking. Higher-ups. Told us to back off. They said someone else will handle this. What? Don't be surprised. The higher-ups just need my help for something. Don't look too deep into the politics. There's nothing in it for you. Renji said as he yawned and stretched. He turned to leave. Stop. Or I'll give the order to fire. If you want to shoot, just shoot. Scum like me dying would be good for society. However. Renji pointed upward. Suddenly, everyone noticed at least 2 red laser dots moving across each of their bodies. The commander scanned the area and saw snipers aiming from nearby rooftops. Understand the situation now, officer? This isn't the place for heroism. Renji walked up and patted the man's shoulder before heading off. Stop right there. The officer roared, gun still aimed. Even if that's the case, I'll kill you today. Someone who treats life like garbage shouldn't be allowed to exist. Renji halted. He turned and walked straight up to the man, grabbed the rifle, and pointed the barrel at his own head. You. Shoot. What? The officer froze. Today isn't the end. I still need to settle accounts with the Shinomiya family. More people will die by my hands. You're right. So shoot me. The officer desperately wanted to pull the trigger. But his finger trembled, unable to move. If you're wondering what will happen if you shoot, I'll tell you. First, your subordinates will be killed. Then your family. Even if you flee Japan, they'll hunt you down to the ends of the earth. As he instinctively tried to lower the gun, Renji held it firmly against his own head. But it's worth it. I'll kill thousands, maybe tens of thousands. I can't stop. This is my job. Killing me now would save all of them. A small sacrifice for countless lives. So shoot. No. Do it. I can't. Shoot. Smack. The officer suddenly shouted and yanked his gun away. Sweating profusely, he stared at this small boy. What he felt wasn't human. Why didn't you shoot? Renji wasn't mocking him. He looked genuinely disappointed. You want to kill me in the name of justice, right? Watching a murderer walk free. Is that justice? The officer clenched his teeth. He wanted to lift the gun and pull the trigger. But the orders from above and fear for his family kept him frozen. Renji walked away. The officer remained still. Among the riot squad, one man watched Renji's retreating back, slowly clenching his fist. Takuman Renji. I will execute you. The challenger has entered. Now, let's welcome the one being challenged. Calamity. Takuman Renji. As Sayaka's voice echoed, Renji stretched his neck and walked into the arena through a burst of fireworks, stepping in front of Akoya Siashu. Akoya's expression was grim. His piercing eyes locked onto Renji, as if ready to kill. Takuman Renji. He took a stance, glaring at the boy before him. 4 years ago, I followed orders and spared you. But today is different. Yeah. It is different. Renji smiled and took his stance as well. The match. Or rather, the bloodshed. Had officially begun. Chapter 186, I don't dislike you Renji. At the commentator's booth, Karura had once again run over to stand beside Sayaka. She excitedly stood up and waved toward Renji. Do your best. Yeah. Renji turned around and gave a slight wave and smiled toward Karura, then turned back to face Akoya Siashu. The opponent was clearly ready, already assuming his stance and preparing to charge. Ready. The referee stood between them, took a deep breath, and shouted. Begin. Swoosh. At the exact moment the signal was given, Akoya sprang off the ground and charged rapidly at Renji. Calculating the distance precisely, he stopped just a step away and launched a straight punch at Renji's forehead. As if predicting this move, Renji didn't dodge. He stepped forward and smashed his forehead straight into the incoming fist. Bang. Akoya frowned and pulled back his hand, realizing that 4 of his knuckles were now sunken in. The pain from shattered bones was unimaginable, but Akoya didn't flinch. He immediately followed up with a high roundhouse kick toward Renji's waist. It didn't work either. The moment he lifted his leg, it was already caught by Renji. Now standing on only one leg, Akoya had no balance. Renji casually swept at his supporting leg with a low roundhouse, and Akoya toppled. But he didn't hit the ground as expected. In the nick of time, he braced himself with one hand, twisted mid-fall, and kicked toward Renji's neck. Smack. It was stopped again. Renji caught it with his other hand. Now both of Akoya's legs were in Renji's grasp. With no footing, he could only hold himself up with his hands. Seeing the determination still etched on Akoya's face, Renji smiled, twisted his hips, and slammed him into the ground. Boom. Ugh. The massive body hit the ground hard, stirring up a cloud of dust. Though he shielded his head with his hands, the shock traveled through his spine to his heart. Since your earlier match, I've been wondering. Turns out you had a micro earpiece in your ear. Renji let go of Akoya's legs and smiled. At close range, he had indeed spotted the tiny device buried deep in Akoya's ear, but nothing could escape his eyes. Humphrey. Akoya climbed back up and launched another attack. Bang. But just as he was about to throw a punch, a sudden pain struck his chest. Renji's hand had whipped out like a snake and slapped his chest with lightning speed. Too fast for Akoya to react. Though you don't seem remotely controlled this time. Gotta say, without relying on shady tricks, you're a lot stronger. Akoya's offense against Renji far surpassed what he showed against Konoharu in the prelims. That thing was just there to stop me from killing people. But you're different, Renji. I have to kill you. Akoya staggered back a couple steps but immediately launched another fierce assault. He unleashed a barrage of straight punches mixed with unpredictable kicks. His attacks were heavy. Enough to knock a regular person unconscious in one blow. But Renji wasn't a regular person. He took them head-on, and suddenly closed in. His hand, swift as a snake's tongue, jabbed into Akoya's chin. Caught off guard, Akoya tried to retreat, but that's when the real attack began. Renji's hands danced, his fingers striking in rapid, precise succession. Chin, forehead, ribs, waist, shoulder blades. Unlike normal punches, Renji used his fingertips, concentrating force into a tiny area to magnify the impact. Soon, Akoya's body was covered in wounds. Not just surface injuries. He could feel multiple broken bones. And Renji? He was still only using 5% of his strength. In one final clash, Akoya roared and swung a punch. But Renji stepped inside his guard, stomped on his foot, and placed his palm against Akoya's chest. It's over. Thud. The explosive force transmitted through Akoya's spine struck his heart. His vision went black. Thud. Akoya's body swayed and then collapsed. The referee was stunned, staring at Akoya lying motionless. After a few seconds of no response, he raised his hand and said, "The match is." Wait. Akoya, who had been flat on the ground, staggered to his feet. His eyes were bloodshot, and wiping blood from his mouth, he shakily stepped toward Renji. "It's not over yet. You really want to kill me that badly?" "Of course. Evil must be purged. For justice." Akoya spat blood. Even with the power gap, he wasn't afraid. "I see. But someone like you, who's executed so many without trial. Can you really claim justice?" "You're right. Even if it's in the name of justice, it doesn't change the fact that I'm a killer." Akoya trembled, raised his fists again before Renji. "I will execute every evil person. And the last one I'll execute is myself. When I die, the world will enter a new era. Looking at Okoye barely standing, Rinji's expression softened. You can't kill me. But. Rinji vanished and reappeared beside Okoye, pressing a hand to his face. People like you, who stick to their beliefs. I don't dislike that. What? Boom. With a powerful push, Okoye was slammed backward, skull hitting the ground with a thunderous crack. He wasn't dead, but he definitely had a concussion. Okoye Seishu had lost consciousness. The match is over. Winner. Takuman Rinji. With the referee's announcement, the first match of the challenge round officially ended. Chapter 187, Dissecting Each Other as a Sign of Friendship hits. Already over? That was less than 5 minutes. And that kid, Takuman Rinji, didn't even take a hit. The tens of thousands of spectators stared in shock. Rinji had defeated Okoye Seishu with ease. Their impression of this unexpected challenge round participant completely changed. Originally, they had thought the final boss of the tournament would be Kana Achido, the reigning champion of Kengan matches. But Rinji's appearance shattered that assumption. If Achido was the final boss, then Rinji was a DLC final boss. Possibly even tougher. Even without seeing Katahiro Matsudo in person, they could already imagine the old man's perverted laughter. He wouldn't give up the Kengan Association chairman seat so easily. Many fighters might not even make it past the challenge round. In the VIP room, Nogi Hideki puffed on a cigar and asked Hatsumi-sen, if you fought him, what are your chances? More like, what are my chances of not dying? Hatsumi scratched his head casually. I felt it during the prelims. He was holding back. And just now? He definitely didn't show his full power. It's like he is constantly suppressing himself. I see. Nogi's brows furrowed. He realized. He'd been tricked. He already suspected Rinji was strong. Katahiro Matsudo's condition. Beat Rinji to win the chairman's seat. Was a red flag. But the co-op challenge option had given him hope. Now, seeing Rinji's performance, even a joint attack seemed unlikely to succeed. His fighters. Hatsumi-sen, Omatakata, Wakatsuki Takeshi. Were all top tier. But even then, the outcome wasn't certain. And if any of them were injured and couldn't compete in the main event, that would be the real disaster. This is going to be tough. This is a 5% equity transfer agreement of Wakaza Life Insurance, and some microelectronic tech patents. Please review it, Mr. Takuman. Alright. In the medical room, Okoye Seishu lay unconscious on the hospital bed, wrapped in bandages. Though not dead, he wouldn't be getting up anytime soon. The real damage wasn't the final slam. His internal organs had begun failing after the palm strike to the chest. Even with top-tier medical care on the island, he'd be recovering for months. By the way, had he not fought Rinji, his next match would have been against Imai Cosmo. Now that he was out, Imai Cosmo would automatically advance to the quarterfinals, making him the biggest gainer of the tournament. Regardless, thank you for not killing him, said Hamashunka, bowing politely. I don't kill unless absolutely necessary. Rinji signed the contract and smiled. Besides, I don't dislike him. Twisted or not, people who carry out their beliefs are worthy of respect. As they spoke, the door to the medical room opened. Garura rushed in and leapt into Rinji's arms. Rinji. I knew you'd win. Of course. Rinji hugged her back with a smile. Dr. Hanafusa then emerged from the operating room, followed by a groggy Makachi, now confined to a wheelchair and pushed by Elena. Makachi, you're already awake? Garura said happily when she saw him. Yeah, thanks to Dr. Hanafusa. Makachi smiled. Your medical skills are amazing. Rinji said to Hanafusa. But you're also quite something. Your neck got snapped and you're still bouncing around. Hanafusa was also a fighter. Back when Rinji went to deal with Hayami Katsumasa, Hanafusa had a match in the arena. His opponent was a man called Bando Yohei, nicknamed Bloody Tusk. He used to be a third-year medical student at Toh University, who stormed a Yakuza office and killed 17 members, injuring 5 more. He then killed 2 officers who came to arrest him and injured 4 others before calmly surrendering. Bando's first hanging execution lasted 90 minutes, and he still survived. Over the next 25 years, he survived 45 execution attempts. For some unknown reason, Jua Communications tracked him down and had him participate in this Kengan Annihilation tournament, where he happened to face Hanafusa. Despite Hanafusa's frail doctor appearance and Bando's bulked-up, monstrous physique, the match was evenly matched. It was so brutal that just watching it made you hurt. In the end, Bando snapped Hanafusa's neck. Unlike Makachi's 90-degree twist, this was a complete spinal severance. Normally instant death. But after someone repositioned his neck, Hanafusa just came back to life. Startling even Rinji. My body's been modified. Injuries like that can't kill me. Hanafusa rubbed his neck, a sickly smile still on his face. So, Rinji, how about letting me dissect you? You let me dissect you first, then I'll let you dissect me. Deal. Straightforward. Hanafusa's assistant, the nurse Yashizawa Kokumi, clutched her stomach from the mental stress of watching these two maniacs. She had no idea what to even say. Rinji glanced at the time on his phone. The next match was about to start. It was time to head to the arena. Alright, I'm off. See you in a bit. Wait. Makachi, still in his wheelchair, suddenly spoke up. Your next match is against Cure Raiyan, right? Yeah. Want me to avenge you? No need for revenge. But be careful of that move of his. That technique that multiplies his physical abilities out of nowhere. It's dangerous. Even now, Makachi shuddered a little. He had landed hits, yet his opponent suddenly got back up. Several times stronger.